This episode of Limit Break Radio is made possible by our generous Patreon donors, including Sheisuke Nosoki of Goblin, Darian Redos of Lamia, Ryu Kirokami of Gilgamesh. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. And by Nine the Bean Coffee. Nine Bean the Coffee boasts the most delicious, most nutritious coffee literally anywhere. They are the Mirage. All of our coffee beans are organically grown with no chemicals added. Our varieties of flavors are the vast, including Kaffee, Kukuru, Royal the Kukuru, the Royal Kaffee, Kukururu the Kaffee, and the newest bean, Tama Bean. Spice up your life by adding a shot of vanilla the espresso. Become part of our loyalty, the rewards program, and get a free cookie with every 4 coffee the orders. The 9 Bean Coffee are the deals will make you say, "What the honk?"
Live from Eorzea.
Limit Break. With your hosts, Unhero.
Now behold the horror you have wrought.
Kahlo.
I said don't take your clothes off.
Juxtaposition.
I don't get it.
Ascalia.
Holy shit, totally forgot about him.
And Mika.
Oh my god.
LimitBreakRadio.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio, a special edition of Limit Break Radio, our European Fan Fest special.
Can finally wear that frickin' Titus clothing now.
Yeah, that
Except
is
I'm
true.
not going to.
No one's
because
going.
Everybody else is
No
going
one,
to.
no one's going.
Everybody.
I'm going to wear it.
Yeah, I know you are because you're awful.
I'm the best.
No, you're objectively terrible.
I'm the best.
So thanks for joining us for our Fan Fest special.
I didn't think that laugh could be any worse. And then he does it.
Oh my God. That was
Idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'll just say the
Thanks for joining us live here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. I'm going to throw it on over to our Eorzean studios. Thank you guys for joining us all. Almost 300 people, 276 to be exact, but nearly 300. I'm sure that we'll end up climbing as we go on here.
Before we start, I would like to make a decree. All right?
Okay.
I just want everyone in the chat to
I
know.
want to make a mukri.
I'm letting everyone in the chat know I'm not reading or responding to chat. Therefore, if you have anything to say today, you must call in.
And that's right. You can do that on Skype. Limit Break Radio is the username, 810-515-8715, if you'd like to use a regular phone. Or if you use Discord, limitbreakradio.com/Discord, you can find the permanent link to our Discord server, which you can use to call the show. Kooky Persona is standing by to take your calls. She'll be filtering them on up to us.
I'm sorry, Kooky.
Please, Kooky, no weebs.
So a couple of people noticed the special music that we were playing before the show. I just thought that with the samurai announcement that maybe we could have some anime-ish music, that we could get it feeling really anime in here, because
I'm getting an extremely gay vibe.
I know.
Did you guys feel the anime?
I feel the anime on that song.
I'm coming! I'm coming!
Could basically use that for any anime intro ever, and it would be fine. FMVs too. Let's just be honest. Anyway, thanks for joining us live here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. LimitBreakRadio.com to check out the show. We have a full archive of our show going back to, goddamn, 2006. 2006 when we started the show, which we're going to be doing. By the way, I wanted to mention, I bring that up only because we're going to be doing some maintenance on our archives here coming up pretty soon. There may be a time where the 11 shows become unavailable for
It's all bad.
for a short period, only a short period of time. They're going to become fully available. We've already got the archive space for it. It's just finding the time. Our time is
Sounds like a Skuro job.
at a premium.
We can't trust Skuro for this.
We can't. No.
Aw.
No. That's above his pay grade, which is none.
Maybe if he actually was able to like do clips consistently after week,
I
then
know,
maybe
right?
we can trust something important to him.
Like, we give him the simplest thing with like an easy, clearly defined deadline. Can't meet it. Anyway, we are taking your live calls. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We want to hear from you all about your reaction to the official Samurai announcement. Of course, you'll notice that Nika is not here. It's because we have fired her for being right about something. It's the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, that's weird.
So we fired her.
We weren't comfortable with that.
Yeah, it made us incredibly insecure about ourselves.
Rip Nika.
So you won't be hearing her on this show anymore. But I hear that she has started a show with FFXIV and Samus and Joe Never Fails. So you can go ahead and listen to that show.
What, no mention of Frosty?
Oh, yeah, that was the other guy.
You know, that was his first show or first time on our show. That was really...
To be fair, Samus is a pretty smart guy, and I don't think he would get into bed with FFXIV. I'm just saying.
So
you were dumb enough to make that move early on in your career. How'd that work out for you?
I mean, where am I now?
Feels like I'm dying inside.
Where am I now?
Yeah, but that's not because of
Who's on my show now?
Fusion.
Who's on my show now?
FFXIV.
No, he's not.
Oh. Well, he was.
He's out in Europe. He's actually enjoying himself at the European Fan Fest. Something that we don't get to have access to.
Enjoying?
Yeah, no, it seems like...
Do you really enjoy life if you're FFXIV?
Rubbing that samurai all up in your smug ass faces. Samurai hype.
Uh-huh. Okay. That's nice. That's nice.
I don't see much hype, to be honest.
I also... I'm not sure if there's any rubbing to do.
Oh,
I mean, Nika's not here, so...
I'm leveling Black Mage and getting good at PvP so I can fucking AoE nuke the incoming infestation of LOL weeaboos. #Katrian. Break Radio.
I like how he has to spell. Like, I have to say, I really appreciate Thor's donations because he takes the time. I think he takes the time to take them to Google Translate first
to make sure that it says all the words correctly.
Yes, exactly. And I have to admire that. That is
dedication.
That is, yeah. I'm impressed by that.
One thing I want to point out before anyone makes any more donations, during my and Kahlo's D&D stream, we had a little bit of a ruckus going on to the point where we couldn't play unless we turned off the donation. So I changed it. So you have to donate $5 to have your donation read on
That's
screen.
right. That's right.
So now
somebody ruined it because they were spamming the same donation from the show the previous day over and over and over again with $1.
Yeah.
So we thought that something was broken.
So here's the thing. All right.
It'll still like appear on the screen for $1.
Yeah.
But it won't be read.
Yeah. We might read it. We can choose to read it at that point if we want. We're probably not going to because you're a cheap piece of shit.
Yeah. What the fuck are you doing with your life?
And you need to get your shit together. Come on.
And get your shit money.
Be an adult. Be an adult and give $5 or get the fuck out. Just kidding. Anyway, no, but this is why we can't have nice things, guys. Just saying, this is why we can't have nice things.
Although, no, you know what? To Twitch chat's credit, I thought it was going to take a lot shorter time for us to reach that conclusion.
Yeah, we actually thought the sloppy episode was going to do it, remember?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that drop.
Yeah.
No,
don't
stop.
Don't.
Stop.
Don't. No.
Don't. I swear to God, don't test me. Don't.
Do not look at me so.
Oh. God, I forget you have there are some drops in there that I forget that you have.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Sloppy.
You son of a bitch. They fucking hate you on a fundamental level.
You're the worst. You're the worst.
Yeah, I know.
All right, let's start lining up them calls. Again, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. You want to rub it in our smug faces? Come on, bring it on.
You're welcome to try.
Yeah, you can give us a call if you want. White Knight Nika if you want. She's not here to, give you the...
I am sorry, Callow, but no one can
head
hear
that you think
from
you deserve.
Nika's giant throbbing erection that you are gagging on right now because of all the shit you gave her on Samurai.
And if any of you guys think that it's suddenly going to stop,
Yeah.
you have another thing coming.
I think you guys misunderstood what the joke was, and it was more about having the ability to make fun of Nika on a level that bothered her, and less about whether we genuinely wanted Samurai in this game or not. That being said, now that we've seen it, and we've seen some of the aesthetics associated with it, I have words. I have things to say. But we'll get there. We're not there yet.
I got words too.
We're not there yet.
They're good ones.
Are
the best.
Only the best?
They're the best. The best words you've ever heard.
Are they huge words?
They're huge.
Do they win bigly?
They're good.
Anyway, let's check out what's going on in FF14 News.
This is a limit-breaking news update.
All right, incoming patch 3.55 maintenance, guys. Just so you know.
Oh, what day is that?
February 27th.
Is that soon?
That's coming out.
Oh, man.
That's 2 weeks from now. That's not soon.
So in order to accompany patch 3.55 and the ending of the Feast Season 3, for those that care, we will be performing an infrastructure maintenance, blah, 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 blah. February 27th, 6 p.m. to February 28th, 2 a.m. Pacific. Just so you know, it's when we're going down for maintenance. On top of that, the gear design contest deadline is approaching. So a little bit of a correction that we have to make. We did say that they should be separate. The ranged magic, DPS, and healer gear, they are separate contests.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they are.
So there's 3 different contests?
There's 2.
There's
healers.
Ranged magic DPS, right? That's one category, and then healers.
You know, I was about to be like, well, then, how come tanks got their own all by itself and they lumped 2 together? But then the tank one was probably also, like a proof of concept. Now that they know how to handle it, they're taking on a bigger load.
Yeah. So they are running 2 at the same time. So just so everyone's clear. But that that deadline is coming up February 24th. So if you're interested in submitting for that, make sure that you take note of that deadline. See, there seems to be one more thing, but I've got that link won't move out of the way. There we go. By the way, and also Corsair is giving away a fat Chocobo PC in honor
looked at it.
of the FF14 FanFest. Yes, this is very cool.
Literally a fat chocobo. I'm
It
signing
really
up
is.
for the contest right now.
I
am not a robot.
No, you're not a rope. Oh.
No, it was asking me.
Well, we're not.
He's
We're not
doing a
employed.
captcha.
Okay, fine.
He's not actually podcasting. He's just
This is a Corsair. Yeah, this should be fine. Anyway, the custom rig is made by Ron Lee Christensen, and you should definitely check it out. I'm sure Kooky has provided a link in the chat room. Sure, we'll also have a link at our website, limitbreakradio.com. But if you really want to see it, corsair.com/FF14win. And that's 1-4 for the 14. It's pretty goddamn cool.
Better fix the bit donation limit too. Only $1 per 100 bits. Side note, I deem your new job predictions to be sloppy. Lil 420 blaze get Rex scrub lay.
You just made a Nero spit out his drink.
Almost. No. I didn't even get it. Like, the drink hadn't even reached through the straw yet. And if it had, it would have been all over my gear. That would have been terrible. What was it? Was just a bunch of LOLs in a row. And it came out as
Which it's never done that before. It's always went LOL.
Yeah. And like, what the fuck? That was crazy. God damn. So there you go. If you want to win a FF14 custom Fat Chocobo PC from Corsair, you can do that over at corsair.com/FF14win. All right. Let's talk about EU FanFest. Lots of announcements, lots of things to talk about, starting with the keynote. Obviously, this was happening out in Frankfurt, Germany. And let me just, can I just say something to Germany? All right.
Go fuck yourself.
No.
Oh.
That's a little strong.
Go lick yourself?
Go
lick your butthole.
That's weirdly specific.
And then make letters with your tongue.
Like in the butthole?
Yeah. Where else would you do it?
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to erase that part from my memory real quick. Germany. Can we maybe work on the enthusiasm level a little bit? When I was watching the stream at home, and granted, this may have been the fault of the production company. They may not have correctly mic'd the crowd or had them up in the mix. But I have to say, during the opening trailer, the full trailer, that included the Samurai Confirm, very muted enthusiasm there from Germany.
You know why?
It's
because Samurai sucks. Nobody wanted Samurai.
Come on.
It was the safe bet. Everyone's just like, Actually, you know what disappointed me the most about it was, didn't they tell us that what we saw at the Las Vegas Fan Fest, they're like, that's just a fraction of the opening video.
Right.
I feel like it was at least half.
I see. The thing is that, like,
half is a fraction, though.
Shut up.
I thought they were specifically referencing more stuff that was happening in Alamigo, which, of course, the second half of that trailer that was unseen doesn't. It completely takes the focus off of anything that's happening in Alamigo and takes us all the way across into Othard. So, yeah, I think that that's kind of apt, but at the same time, you know, the enthusiasm on the part of the EU players, I think, like, I'm just saying, Germany, like, can we find a happy medium between, like, don't get so enthused that you go invade Poland or anything, you know what I mean? Like, maybe dial it back a little bit, but a little bit more enthusiasm was probably warranted for Samurai.
A bunch of Germans invading Poland dressed as samurais.
I guess that would have been awkward. That would have been culturally awkward.
Culturally
Can
inappropriate.
they invade France, though?
Anyway, so, no, but seriously, Germany, like, why? Like, I did not feel the hype. I just didn't. I didn't feel the hype from the crowd, and that's a little disappointing.
Well, it's just a cultural thing. I mean, Germans don't really get excited about things.
Ragan saying this just in Europe is boring. Confirmed.
That true.
Confirmed, I think.
Brexit was right.
So we did obviously get the new Stormblood trailer, which I'll go ahead and pull up here on the stream. But I got to have just a second. But a lot of confirmations coming in this trailer that people have been waiting for a very, very long time for. I think that this trailer would have been more enthusiastically received either in Japan or America. I really kind of question why Square-Enix decided to organize or order the fan fests that they did. Because I just
knew that the third one's going to be a wet, sloppy fart, so they had to give it to EU. It's not Germany's fault.
I don't think that this is necessarily, like, I don't think this is the most disappointing of the three, though. Do you?
No, I turned the donations off for bits, by the way. But no, I feel like probably America was the biggest wet fart, because we didn't get any job confirmations, hard confirmations.
No, I disagree. I think that Germany was the biggest letdown. I mean, even though it might have just been a small fraction of it.
Fuck you, Juxta, for stealing my words. Hashtag mute Juxta.
What?
Okay, well, it's $10. Huh?
Hey. Okay, but yeah, think about it. Think about how much hype surrounded the Lady in Red, right? Like, looking back on it now, sure, nothing really came of it, but you cannot deny the amount of hype surrounding the Lady in Red, Red Mage Soft Confirm, people going nuts over increased inventory, dropping PS3 support.
By the way,
we got those first.
By the way, still some of the biggest cheers of the entire presentation
was still, yeah.
When they went over those facts again.
Yeah, the only big thing that we got,
which I just want to point out. Ha 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 ha. Fuck you, Starcade, because everyone unanimously agrees that dropping this dead weight of a system is a good idea. You dumb twat.
Eat my dick!
You don't need to respond for him in drops, you know?
Well, I felt like it was appropriate.
Well,
The biggest announcement that we got from this fan fest that I don't think anybody saw coming was the inclusion of Othard and the Far East.
That's actually huger than what.
that is a really big deal.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's like the biggest thing. I mean, some people might argue Samurai, but that didn't surprise anybody. And
No,
you can
especially
see
after the leaks.
that there's no real big hype about it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, they are swinging
But-
a sword, so that's pretty cool. The sword
But
swung.
with the inclusion of Othard, I actually do have a few qualms with Square-Enix over that. I mean, overall, yeah, it's probably great. Again, big surprise. I mean, remember all the arguments that we had with Anira, where he's like, "Where are we supposed to go? There's not enough room over there to do anything."
It definitely hang on. It explains some of these decisions that Square Enix has made recently regarding like Zelfatol and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they were trying to clearly flesh out the map.
So Samurai is DPS. My inner anime geek is gushing. Also, that housing area, I am a sucker for Far East housing.
We're gonna get to that.
We're definitely going to get to that.
Please keep your weeb in your pants.
Yeah, let's start with the trailer here. We'll take a look at the trailer.
Penis trailer. One thing that people may not have noticed.
Penis trailer?
I don't know. I was just talking. One thing I noticed that people may have missed is that the flags at the first part of like the fighting, in the bottom, they actually have colors on them. Now.
Yeah.
Purple. It's Amigo or gay.
Thanks, Jokester. It's funny, actually, in this trailer, like, before I didn't really notice the whole, like, idea that she was attacking with her sleeves. But now, actually, in this trailer, I definitely, like, I noticed that moment that people were talking about.
But that doesn't mean anything anymore, apparently.
No, it doesn't.
No?
I do think that this does give us some looks into new monk animations, though.
Probably, but... Actually, I don't know. I mean, not every monk's going to have sleeves on.
Yeah.
Well, no, not the attacking with the sleeves. I'm just saying, like, some of these moves.
Okay.
Yeah, like, some of these moves are definitely going to be animations that they have.
Right.
Yep, there you go. It's got the colors right there.
Purple for gay.
Why?
Because they said it was a fraction, and it's just
really
not
wasn't.
that. There's not that much.
Yeah, like when you compare it to like Dragon Song, like
I do really like. I do want to say though, I really liked kind of like this Game of Thrones
Yes.
type feel.
Yeah, no,
this was a good reveal.
oh my
Yes.
god, yes. Because when it just so got and then when it comes to this part, I'm like, I looked at Jux, I'm like, was that Doma?
I was like, oh shit!
Is that Doma?
No fucking
Yeah.
way!
Yes, that was.
Get out of here!
You know what? I will give it. This was probably one of the best executed reveals.
This is that was
yeah.
and it was a good hide too. Like nobody, I don't think anyone expected this. This is kind of cool. I wonder what this is all about. This city underwater. I definitely think that's going to be some kind of dungeon or event.
Yeah. See, what I feel like so the opening cutscene we got for Heaven's War, I feel like that was an introduction to the Dragon Song War, to the whole ordeal.
Not the Dragon Song War, the Alamegan conflict. You mean? Oh, you mean what are you talking about?
Comparing this to the Heaven's Ward one.
Gotcha.
This now, I feel like this is just an introduction to the areas rather than the expansion's narrative as a whole. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I get. Where you're going.
Yeah. This is more of just like a big reveal trailer. You know, Doma, Samurai, new characters.
Weaviness.
So much weaviness. He cuts all of these in half. Like, come on.
Tips hat, milady.
If it was,
Which, by the way, okay,
Destruction of public property. Why is that cool?
monk gear, strength based. He'd never be able to move that fast. He's not a fucking ninja. Thank you very much.
well, but this is your guys' cultural homeland. I mean, you're ninjas, right?
No. We are Eorzeans first.
We just appropriated this culture.
That's right.
We're making it white again.
Oh, remember when Nero thought they were going to kill you, Giri?
Can I just say, yeah,
White,
that's,
no? I'm white.
that's true. Can I just say, I really hope that ninjas end up getting a falcon pet. Can I just?
I came a little bit.
I really want that to be a thing, and then for ninjas to get that, and then for dragoons to never get a pet.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Never ever be a pet class.
That would be so amazing.
I want to.
That you could just lord that over Ascalia until the end of goddamn time. See, you guys need to understand that sometimes when we advocate for something, that it's to see the reaction from some of our fellow hosts.
It's not even necessarily for the betterment of the game.
Right. It's specifically to make Ascalia sad, or
Yes.
specifically to make Nika sad.
We literally feed off of misery.
and hate.
Right. Which, by the way, when Heaven's Word was coming out, and you guys used to sit here and give me shit about Judge or that Dark Knight would never be included in the game, I don't remember any goddamn White Knights coming out to my defense and going, well, you guys are being really mean to a Nero.
It's because you don't have a vagina.
Nobody did that.
It's not about puss, all right?
Nobody did that. Okay, so I'm so over the tweets going like, oh my god, I can't wait for Nika to be able to rub your guys' face in
Yeah,
it.
do you guys think we're suddenly gonna stop?
Like,
We're just gonna find something new.
oh my god,
That's how this works.
it's like it's the first time that they've ever tuned into one of these shows.
Yeah.
You guys know how this works. I shouldn't need to explain this shit.
And yet you do.
Not after
every single episode.
Not after 100 episodes, motherfucker. Come on. Oh, jeez. All right. So, lots of announcements, including Othard. We're definitely going to Othard. We got an entirely new map.
Does anyone like the name Othard?
I mean, is there like?
I think just think it sucks.
It doesn't sound weeby enough to me.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It doesn't have like a nay in it or
Othard nay Kugami Sichi penis fuckers.
Sometimes I feel like you should just cut off your stream of conscious just a little bit sooner, okay?
Yeah.
Once you feel that need to say penis, stop.
Yeah, like that's a pretty clear line. Like once you reach there, like yeah, that should be your cutoff.
The bar that I was in last night, the bathroom had like a graffiti motif.
Was there a penis?
No, but there was just one word. It just said penis, and I'm like, Juxta was here.
Yeah.
That was Juxta.
Penis.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, so we definitely know we're going to Othard, which is pretty great. I think that's a pretty great move.
It's huge. I mean, you're more than doubling the amount of land masses that we have now.
Yeah.
I guess it remains to be seen how many zones we actually get, because I mean, Othard looks to be relatively, I guess, a little bit smaller than Eorzea is, right? But think of how many zones there are right now in like the mainland map, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we're gonna get that many zones in Othard.
I mean, we've seen a few.
They would make so much money if they added Guild Toss as a samurai ability to the store.
You know, not wrong.
Can always toss Gil our way.
Except instead of Gil, you have to toss actual coins, like actual dollars.
You know, I am going to be curious how Samurai ends up operating. But I do want to, before we get to Samurai, I do want to talk about, Othard and going to Doma, because this is kind of a big deal and something that we had, I guess, shouted down early, the idea that this could happen. Mostly because and let me tell you why I actually have a little bit of problem with this from a narrative perspective, is the Doman refugees really, that the impression that I was left with, and I don't know, I can't confirm this, I didn't go look it up, you know, and it's been a long time, so I don't remember exactly what the context was, but it seemed like the Doman refugees made it seem like what had happened in Doma was so bad. And granted, it could be, but I think going to Doma or having Doma so equally or easily accessible sort of undercuts the idea that they had to come all the way to Eorzea.
Yeah, imagine that huge trip across the ocean instead of just going to Kugan. Yeah, instead of just going to Kugan.
Yeah.
Kugan.
You think even though they are an isolationist, you know, society or whatever.
Yeah,
I've heard that tune
Look,
before.
they can't be that isolationist if that's where our new housing wards are going to be. Straight up.
Now, in Square Enix's defense, what would actually be extremely interesting and could really provide some really compelling character devices for Yugiri is, what if there was a different reason that the Domans didn't go over there, right? Like what if they actually lied to us about the reason they're coming to Eorzea? That undercuts our trust once we find this out.
What if the Kuganians actually are all samurais and they all hate ninjas, so Domans couldn't go there?
I'm just saying, I really hope that, because you're absolutely right, Aniro. The fact that now there's this whole big giant stuff that they could have went somewhere else.
It undercut the urgency of that,
severely.
And not just, and it's sort of like even in right down to like the placement of the city on the actual Othard map, like geographically, because there's space that they could have gone, and unless there's a good goddamn reason. And by the way, I didn't see any good goddamn reason in any of the promo stills that we saw, or any of the video walkthroughs that we saw.
Yeah, there better be destroyed cities and settlements that we can see.
Yeah, there's got to be a good goddamn reason. Now, there have been some really interesting screenshots that we saw from the North American Fan Fest that included a mountain with a hole in the side of it. There admittedly could be some very brutal stuff there. And I'm just, I'm not saying that it's going to be bad. I'm just saying I'm concerned that it could be bad or cheesy because they really need to make that plot point compelling that these people needed to leave.
Now, Yoshi also did say too that Yugiri was going to play like a big part in the narrative.
Right.
I really hope it's not just like, all right, Yugiri and us were the envoy to rally all these people together, right? Like, I really want to see some character conflicts on the level of Estinian clashing with Ysael, or Ysael trying to come to grips with the fact that, you know what, you're not Shiva, you're some bastardized version of her,
or that Mughals are soft.
And let me tell you the other problem that I have from this is that we got a bit of a split storyline with Heavensward. We got 3 patches-ish of very tightly focused Dragonsong War content, which then the focus shifted for 1 patch, or maybe if you want to stretch it, a patch and a half, to focus on the Warriors of Darkness. And then another patch, maybe patch and a half, to set up the Alamegan conflict. And I feel like a lot of these plot points are just not being given time to actually have the narrative impact that they could.
Are you afraid that with so much of Doma being accessible now that they're just going to be running into more of that hanging plot thread?
I think that this definitely splits our attention between what's going on in Alamigo and what's going on in Othard.
And even if it doesn't do that, if they do actually start rounding up all of these narratives, I think we're still going to suffer, because now the Alamegan resistance and liberation of Alamigo, which up till now we thought was going to be like the crux of the expansion, even if they decide to finish that off really quick, now there's been all this hype and all this build up to finally freeing Alamigo, And doesn't it just feel like we're sweeping it under the rug pretty quickly?
I mean, yeah, it does. It kind of does, and I'm a little concerned in that regard. Look, they've done very clever narrative things before to be able to make it all hang together, and I think that they definitely have the talent and the resources to be able to do that here. But I'm concerned. And then when you throw on top of it that we know that the raid is going to be connected to Evilise and not necessarily intrinsically to FF14, that gives me another reason to be concerned.
DK Donkey Kong is pointing out that maybe Kug-An is primarily controlled by the Garleans. That's why the Domans couldn't go there.
So why are we hanging out there so much? It seems like
unless what do we within the first patch or by the end of the first the actual expansion storyline free them? Because if both the rebellions are tied up by the end of patch 4.0, where the fuck do we go from there?
Yeah. I don't know. It does seem, like I said, it seems to split the attention.
There's a lot more questions have popped up than answers. Here's another one. What was announced at FanFest, all right, that we needed context from patch 3.5?
We need to know that Yugiri was still alive.
We knew that.
But did we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we sure? Because I hadn't seen her in like a couple patches.
That's still not
nothing. I don't think. I mean, the biggest reveal was obviously that we're going to Doma, but I don't think that had we known that now or before patch 3.5 that it really would have made that much of a difference.
No,
I would have just been thinking sooner. Well, then what the fuck are we doing in Alamigo? Like that's going to be over pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Piss
on it.
All right, let's talk about the Weeb.
We'll see how it plays out. The story narrative could pay off on a high note. Hashtag ban Scoro Kappa.
I mean, it could. I mean, we could end up farting rainbows at the end of this expansion. We don't know.
That'd be so cool.
I'm just saying,
a farting rainbow mount.
But I'm just saying, like, there's equal possibility of either one of those things happening.
Okay, you know what? I have an idea now. Reading some stuff in the chat here. What if the reason we go to Doma is when we attack Alamigo, okay? Let's say the Garleans have to pull forces from Doma to either contend with us or launch some type of sneak attack somewhere. So we decide, all right, let's go and help the Domans first, then they can help us with Alamigo. That's like the only thing I could possibly come up with.
Man, I just don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm curious how they're going to do it, but I have concerns.
Yeah, no, yeah, because you're right. Probably the biggest criticism that we had for the Heaven's Ward expansion, and even to some extent the end of A Realm Reborn, was how many different stories they had going at once and how long it took them to come back to those different stories.
Yeah. And if they're introducing and resolving things that quickly, I think that's pretty unsatisfying as well. I don't know. We'll see. Let's go to our phone lines. We're going to talk about Samurai next, but we'll have Fate and Darius of Genova kick us off. What's going on, Fate? Welcome to Limit Break Radio.
Oh, glad to be on. How you guys doing over there?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Shitty.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Look, it'll all pass. You guys will feel better. You know, it's okay to admit defeat every once in a while, but, you know, don't let it get to you. You know, it's just one thing at a time.
Did we get defeated?
Well, no, I just... okay. Just admit defeats, but... all right,
what did we lose to?
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about us losing on. I think we're fine.
Okay, enough about that.
Okay.
The whole thing is that my biggest surprise was Doma, and I was interested to find out how, you know, they bragged about, oh, well, this is so much more content than Heaven's Ward. I'm like, well, continent-wise, not really. But then you realize, oh, snap, the third of the whole planet. Oh, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
looking on the map, it's nearly the size of all the Grand Company nations combined.
Yeah, and the thing is that this is our first time even really getting a sense of what exists outside of the Eorzean borders, you know, and there was no way for us. Othard was completely just a concept, you know, like we had no tangible idea of what.
We knew it was someplace.
Yeah, but there's even still sections of Othard that need to be that will need to be fleshed out. So they did give us a lot of world and a lot of map.
my major concern, though, is that the alpha footage that they were showing was pretty barren when it comes to the landscape and the surrounding villages. But then again, they might just be showing us alpha footage and not really much of any assets supplied on the plains. Aside from that, I mean, whether the story concept of it, I mean, and this is probably a terrible example, like say World War II, you know, at the end of World War II, the Americans, right? They did a terrible thing to a country, but they didn't destroy the capital. They only destroyed some of the other cities. So I'm imagining that there would be other, you know, Garlean nukes of devastation on these plains that used to be towns or cities. We fought as much as we fought, but we have been taken over by the Garleans, something like that.
Well, I think that Othard as a landmass is far more conquered by the Garleans than Eorzea is. Their push into Othard was a lot more successful than the attempted pushes into Eorzea.
Because I mean, look where Doma is. It's on the east side, right by the coast, which means they've pushed through all of Othard except for the little island nation or the little, you know, island settlements where, like, you know, Kug-An exists and stuff like that.
But it does remain to be seen exactly how much of the landmass is controlled by the Garleans. Now, if we're going into Othard and it is like an occupied territory by the Garleans, I think that's really compelling. That's really kind of cool and really compelling. But we didn't see a lot of that, as Fate had mentioned. We didn't see a lot of that in the alpha footage. We saw a lot of wide open spaces and what seemed like long-standing,
Doman architecture,
not Doman, but Othardian architecture.
There you go, ramen bowls.
But stuff that had existed clearly for a long time. It's not necessarily, you know,
we saw no evidence
influenced
of war.
by the Garleans. Yeah, there's no influence of war. There's no influence of occupation. But we have been told by the Square-Enix dev team that those elements do exist. That, you know, longer standing, more permanent Garlean architecture does exist for this new patch, or for this new expansion. Now the question, I think the question now becomes, because we've opened up the map so much, does that more permanent architecture exist in Alamigo, or does it exist out in Othard?
The question is, how long was the Garleans invaded Doma? Like, how long ago was that?
That was recent, because they pretty much annihilated the city, which is why the refugees came.
And then they came. So
yeah, they came. They came
maybe
to
a couple
us.
Months.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it should
I mean,
still
game
be
time. Game time. It's tough to say for sure.
But there should still be marks, scars of war.
Oh, absolutely.
Unlike in Alamigo, where things have been that way for generations.
Yes. See, now, but the thing is that if they use some kind of super weapon, right? Like, that's why I had referenced that hole in the mountain.
Yeah.
If they had used something that was that destructive, then I could, you know, I could see having to respond to that if that becomes a presence or a threat directly to us.
Okay, well, let's go back to the Domans, though, when they came to us as refugees, right? It's not my imagination. They definitely mentioned, like, they tried to resist, or was it just Yugiri's clan? I don't know, but there was definitely some talk of trying to resist the Garleans, and they wiped them out. Like, they flat out, there was nothing left, was the impression that I got.
Yeah.
I'm not imagining that, am I?
No, I don't think you are, because I think that's the sentiment that I have surrounding that moment.
So could it be then, if they do have some type of Garlean super weapon, right? The Domans tried to resist them. The super weapon was used on them specifically, which would have obliterated everything, and that then put the other areas of Othard into submission.
I mean, yes, that is entirely possible. You're talking sort of like a bit like a influenced by like Starkiller Base or something like that.
Which could also explain why the Domans didn't try to go anywhere else. Because it probably could have been a case of, look, you tried to resist the Garleans, we can't take you in because that's not happening to us. And that's why they were forced to cross the sea to us.
Okay, all right, that's possible. I could see that.
Have been the only other area, anyone, to have ever stood up to the Garleans and repelled them.
Well, we did have this interesting plot point that Yoshi P had mentioned as a part of the North American Fan Fest, that there is... we will end up running into the sentiment that Garlean occupation or Garlean allegiance is not a bad thing. Now that we know that we're going to Othard, I think maybe that's where we might run into that sentiment a little bit more. Alamigo is still a newly occupied nation. Now, I know that they did talk about it in the context of Alamigo, but we don't know what the Garleans' relationship with the Othard peninsula, or not peninsula, but the entire nation or country or whatever you want to call it, that landmass. Yeah, we don't know what the relationship between the Garleans and the Othardians looks like. We do know that Eorzea... Othards. I like that. We do know for a fact that Eorzea, the entirety of Eorzea, banded together, united together to repel the Garleans. We don't know definitively much of that history over in Othard. I think that's what I'm most interested in.
We also have chat saying that Othard has been under Garlean control, and what happened with Doma was that they tried to incite an uprising. Yeah, so I don't know, Juxta, do you have any thoughts on it that are actually, tangible, coherent points that don't involve phallic symbols?
Well, I think that Doma is probably a penis, but going off of that, I think that it's probably likely that Doma is completely obliterated. Like, Doma as the city. Doma is just a city. It's not unreasonable for the Garleans to just have completely wiped away Doma. There is no trace of Doma. We didn't even see any pictures of Doma, the actual Doma, in the keynote. So I'm willing to bet that Doma doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that surrounding areas, surrounding clans will still be there. We can assume that.
Okay, so what about this whole splitting the narrative thing? I mean, honestly, I was so hyped when they showed Doma, right? Like, out of all the reveals they've done between all three fan fests, and you're absolutely right, the way that they did that in
that sort of Game of Thrones style,
it was amazing. Like even halfway through when it's showing Garlemald, right? I didn't know what to expect, but when they showed all of Doma, that's amazing. But then you bring up such a great point. Their biggest glaring shortcoming through the last expansion was these hanging plot threads. Because even when they came back to one that we wanted to know more about, it had been so long, like, we kind of stopped caring.
Well, not just that, but I mean, like, having our attention split in so many different places, too, narratively is very disjointed. So you have to have, a sense of where these two plot lines are going, and we already know that we're going to have Omega to contend with as well.
Right. So, I mean, all right, so we have Xeno, who's supposed to be, like, the big baddie.
Now the thing is that if Xeno is manipulating things or creating the conflict in both Alamigo,
that's what I'm wondering,
and in Doma, then maybe we have something.
Yeah, because we've been led to believe that Xenos is the guy who's in control of Alamigo, so who's supposed to be the big baddie or the end goal for Othard?
Right. I think it is going to end up being Xenos, because I think what's going to end up happening is the threat to Alamigo is going to be what ended up wiping up Doma, what ended up wiping it off the map. So that's my opinion. But yeah, I'm not really sure how this spreading out of priorities is going to end up.
And that's not to say anything about the kingdom or the palace that we saw underwater as well. I mean, Coerthus was boom. It's right there. It's right within in Eorzea.
I'm going to make I want to make a prediction about the underwater thing.
Go for it.
I think that's either going to be the staging for the next Palace of the Dead, whatever the multiple floor dungeon is going to be, or that's going to be the staging. Yeah, no, I think that's what it's going to be, because Eureka is kind of like the equivalent of what the new diadem is going to end up being. So
I'm going to assume probably that Eureka is going to be located in Othard somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because it does have in just sort of the stills that we've seen associated, some of the art that we've seen associated does look like it could be in Sea of Clouds. So
who's not to say, though, that Othard has some type of formation similar to what caused the Sea of Clouds, right?
Yeah, he might. They might.
I don't know. The more and more we talk about, the more worried I am, because Coerthus is right there. Like, it's part of Eorzea, and we still felt like we were spread thin. And now we're talking about...
Well, it didn't necessarily even feel that connected to the other parts of A Realm Reborn.
Yeah, and now we're talking about Alamigo, Othard, which is across the friggin' ocean.
Right.
This underwater place. Who knows where, Eureka is, if it's located somewhere in between where all that, like, cloudy stuff was on the map, the Game of Thrones-styled map. I don't know.
By the way, Fate, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio, because we want to hear your reactions to Samurai, to Othard, to all of the Stormblood announcements, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Get in on the conversation. Maybe you can try to cheer us up. Bring the hype levels up.
Bring
in the
some
room.
sanity here.
Because there's lots of things to consider, like where's the new Idly Shire? Could that be the underwater place? Could
I think that's Kagan. That's
No, because
Kagani is that's going to be the new Ishgard.
Well, what about Alamigo?
Alamigo is going to be Alamigo is going to be Guardian controlled.
Yeah,
we won't actually liberate that.
Okay,
in 4.0.
all right. Okay, all right.
And then the
Ralgar's Reach. Then do you think that's going to be the new?
That's the one. That's what we're going to be building up.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Because it doesn't make sense to build up Kugani.
Nope, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're totally right.
I know. I'm always right.
That's not what he said. That's not what he said.
Oh, okay.
What about we didn't hear anything about the Lakshmi and her Beastman followers.
Nope, we sure didn't.
Yeah.
But we did hear about a whole new beast tribe.
The Ninja Turtles.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that do have their own primal and an entirely new primal too. I'm actually trying to find that now on the outline.
Which I hate to do that. I hate to keep riding the de-hype train.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I was really
Susano. That's who it is.
Yeah, I was actually kind of excited when they started talking about
Susano
this beast tribe because I think that the strongest beast tribes we've had are the ones who haven't been inherently wild or evil or wanted to fight us. Right?
Yeah.
The Nath were super cool. The Vanu I thought worked out pretty well. Fuck the Mughals. But okay, so these Koshi or Kojin, what are they called?
Kojin.
Okay, so the Kojin, really adept at communication. They're all about trade and stuff like that. So it kind of hit me as the Nath Beast tribe, right?
Yeah.
All into collecting treasures and stuff.
They are getting more nuanced with their depiction of the Beastmen, which I like.
That's true too. So okay, maybe there's a split faction, but it didn't really make sense to me that they talk about how they're underwater, they're good at communication, they're traders by nature, all of this stuff, and then it's they have a primal that basically looks like Thornton. What need do they have to summon a primal if they're trading with people? And
maybe the narrative, maybe it will figure out the arc of the story will make that clear, or
I hope so.
It's who knows, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't have their own primal. I mean, I think I like the idea that we're exploring a friendlier beast tribe and primal deity with Lakshmi. I don't think that we need to repeat that necessarily over here with Susano.
Chat seems to think that underwater city belongs to Lakshmi and the God, what am I forgetting the name of those stupid beastmen?
They're not called Lamia.
They're not Lamia, but they're close to
okay,
them. They
yes,
look like
yes,
Lamia.
yeah.
They're not.
I don't think so. I don't think they would have dedicated because
it's possible.
But the Beastmen always play such a small ancillary role on the side of everything.
That was such a focus. That was a focal point of the trailer.
It absolutely was.
Yeah, because it's a focal point of the trailer. That's what makes me think that no. But it could just be showing off we have underwater stuff now. I don't know.
What they called them.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I think we should play Blitzball there.
I want it to be important. I want it to have some kind of meaning. And we don't know where the next staging for the Palace of the Dead could take place. I think that would be a nice little nod if it was of more importance than Blitzball or, this is where the Beastman tribe
is. It's Besaid.
Whatever.
Actually, no, what's that one town? Port Kilika?
What?
You have to be more specific.
No, the underwater one.
There wasn't a town that was underwater.
Oh, well, I mean the one where they go to the Blitzball Championship.
That's Luca.
Luca? Okay, that's what it is. Luca down there.
Get the fuck out.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Kestrel Cole of Adamantoise. First-time caller to the show. Kestrel, thanks for calling in.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right.
All right. What would you like to discuss?
Been lurking around your guys' stuff since your
your second State of the Realm thing.
Oh, nice. Well, welcome to the show.
Glad your tastes are improving.
I guess my main point, going back to the whole going to Othard, going to Alamigo thing, is like, I kind of feel like you had all this like energy funneled toward Alamigo, and then like all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we're going to Othard too. Yeah. And then you had like that, like, how to put it, like in the story they always made a big deal about how like the Eorzean Alliance didn't have enough resources to do anything with like Alamigo or anything like that. And suddenly we're going to have enough resources to tack it on
two of
fronts.
them? Yeah. It definitely undermines the Alamigan resistance that we've been sold so far.
Well,
but I don't think we're actually going to have the support of the Eorzean nations.
Yeah, I was just...
for the Doman expedition.
Jux, I was just going to say that yeah,
that's why I interrupted you.
I don't think that the Eorzean Alliance is necessarily even going to have a dog in the fight in Othard. I think what's going to bring us to Othard is one specific point, like Xenos. Like, I think Xenos is what's going to take us to Othard, and it so happens that we're going to get more of the landmass than just one little tiny piece that is necessary for the narrative. Which I think is a good thing. I think that's awesome from the point of view of a player, but I don't know that there's going to be a grander conflict for us to get wound up in. What I expect is that we'll have the threat of the weapon used on Doma to be used on Alamigo, and we have to go to Othard to stop it. That's what my prediction for the narrative arc will be, and that brings us into Othard. And once we're there, now the continent opens up, and we have a whole bunch of new culture and new stuff that's kind of thrown at us.
Okay, all right, you know what? That's fair, because it still leaves Alamigo, like liberating Alamigo, as like the end point, right? But we can't possibly go full blown into that so long as that weapon is a threat. And when we're in Alamigo, obviously we're going to need help of different factions, different groups of people, right, and helping them work out their little problems, blah 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 blah.
Right? Yeah. See, I think it would feel much larger from a player perspective if at first, the 4.0 narrative is tightly focused in on Alamigo, what's happening in Alamigo, and stopping that threat and going to Othard to stop that threat. Once that threat has stopped, then Othard, boom, opens up to you as this whole big area that now through the subsequent patches we are now dragged into and introduced to the native conflicts of a land that we had to go to prevent a large-scale calamity.
I'm starting to feel this a lot more too, because now having Yugiri with us, it also adds another layer of, I think, good character development for her. In the fact
you would kind of, you'd kind of fill in the whole.
She would be like
she'd be kind of like Amric. Yeah,
she'd be our guide through it. But if what we're or the idea that Domans couldn't go to the other Othard nations because they were part of the rebellion and they could potentially use the weapon against whoever's harboring them, that adds another unique layer there, that she's serving as our guide, but using her might also kind of work to our disadvantage.
But I think this is also a really interesting point for Square-Enix to allow the player character to feel much like when we were brought into Heavensward, we felt the stripping of the goddesses, the goddesses' protection. We would feel the stripping of the protection of the nations of Eorzea, and now we feel, we would feel, or the attempt would be from a narrative perspective to make us feel like a traveler out into a totally foreign land.
And not to mention, because this is so far away, it's very possible they haven't heard of a lot of our exploits as the Warriors of Light either, or they wouldn't obviously know us by sight or anything like that.
Exactly. Yeah. There's definitely a lot to unpack here. A lot of really interesting stuff. If they took that approach to it, I could see that. I could definitely see that being very cool.
Oh my God, Yugiri isn't going to be the Amric equivalent. She's going to be the Harchafont equivalent, and that means she's going to fucking die.
Oh, sadness.
Well, I do call, since Othard is a thing, I do call there being a dungeon called the Ruined City of Doma. So
That'd be pretty cool. Oh, but just a dungeon? Yeah.
I'd want it to be more, but
I'd actually like it to be. You know what would be really cool is if it's the first, even if dungeon or raid, if they use Doma as the setting for some type of content, they should make this be one of the first ones that's in the open world, so you can visit it outside of just going there through the dungeon.
Yeah. That and they've also said that they've been looking at ways to do stuff like that to make areas feel a lot more exclusive. And I think that's a good suggestion to block some people off like that. So anyway, thanks for the call. You got any shout outs before we let you go?
I would call out my free company, Black Waltz, but they all quit playing on me. So
well, you kind of just did anyway.
Well, fuck them.
Well, now you called them out instead.
I'm sure
that's a call out instead of a shout out.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure with all of this new information that they'll be coming back, tail between their legs. They always do.
Oh yeah, one of them's already making a big mess about Samurai, and I'm just like, meh.
Yeah.
You mean Red Mage?
See. Anyway, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. If you would like to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. What do you think of the recently announced ability to go to Othard? Let's take a look at this map real quick. I did want to bring this up and bring this up on screen.
Can you show us a quick comparison to Eorzea too, like size wise on the map? Just
we can just kind of scroll over here.
Oh shit! It actually looks bigger, doesn't it?
It is bigger.
Yeah.
Okay. I had someone count. We have over 20 zones pre Heaven's Ward in Eorzea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no way we're getting even close to that in Othard.
We do know that there are sections of this map that are not going to be available, and that most of this map is really going to focus on. We've got Kugan over here. We got Kugan over here. We got Doma is right here.
Mm-hmm.
We also know that we're going to be getting the steps.
Sky Gods.
What's that down there at the bottom, right in the center? What's that island down there? To your left.
I don't know. I mean,
does it have a name on it or no?
Thavnair.
Thavnair. Oh, where
Thavnair.
the Thavnair clothing comes from, and the onions.
Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, yeah. That's a big trade destination.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And we do know that we're gonna.
There's hats at hand.
What?
Rads
at hand. Yeah, that's
the oil.
Yeah.
That's where all the oil in the world comes from.
And you can see, there's a lot of ships down there. You can see it's a very, very active trade port.
They've given us so much.
And
map.
There's also old Charlene at the far left.
You can see in these cloud breaks even that there's more.
Yeah.
There's more land underneath that.
Being crafty there, Square-Enix, trying to hide stuff from us.
So even in terms of what we're going to be getting with Othard, I'm having trouble reading some of this, just because the red text is really, really difficult to read. We can tell that we're definitely going to get Kugan. We're definitely going to get Doma. We're going to get the steps, the as in step, which I really like the design for that a lot.
Is that the one with the fucking ramen bowl?
Yeah, the ramen bowl. Yep. I like that.
We have the ramen.
I thought that was very cool.
Ramen bowl in the steps. The Jenga tower is the Red Sea. The Ruby Sea. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is the worst.
What? You not having fun?
Okay. Why do I want? We're going to freaking Othard, and we're gonna fight in a ramen bowl or something.
No, that's a city.
Is it is it the city on top of it, or is it inside?
No, it's inside of it. It was probably a plateau at one point, and they carved all that out.
Yeah,
that just seems very.
Shut up! You're
structurally unstable.
You're an idiot.
I'm an idiot. I'm not the one who's carving out a mountain and living inside of it.
Like a dwarf.
I'm kind of curious to see who who lives there.
I should be
live there.
I should be more excited because I remember one of the things that I wasn't really super excited for in Heaven's Ward is I was really apprehensive about the idea that, it's just going to be a bunch of like snow-covered places, which granted, it wasn't, right?
Right.
But I mean, a lot of these zones that they're showing us are like a lot more colorful than what we saw, before Heaven's Ward came out. And I mean, Heaven's Ward ended up being really good.
Yeah.
And the thing that drew me the most into Heaven's Ward was the characters and that main story quest, that adventure that we had from launch till the end of 3.0. So I don't know, maybe I'm worried over nothing.
I think you are.
I think you're just dumb.
I do want to point out...
Think I'm a dumbass?
Yes, that's clever.
Better than being an Othard.
I do want to point out something that Juxta had pointed out, is that over here with Roshu, on the with the Roshu Island that Kagan is a part of, we actually see the 4 sky gods.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
There's the turtle, there's the dragon, there's the tiger, and there's the bird.
The bird.
Hello, Byaku.
Oh.
Well,
okay.
Guess not enough to get it.
Try again, buddy.
It was the Cuban planet, and calling it next primal mount will be tigers looking at the animals around Roshu.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or
instead
of just tigers, the mounts are each of the 4 of them, and then the 5th one. Oh, we've already had Kieran.
Oh,
wah, wah, wah.
Kieran Mark II.
We upgrade Kieran, has wings now.
Kieran V2. Yeah, we've got the Ruby Sea, which I believe that's the southern part over here, right? I mean, we've got the Ruby, the Ruby. I'm gonna guess that's gonna be like a strait or something.
I definitely think a lot of the things here on the map are going to come into play, because when you look at how animated this side of the map is compared to Eorzea, they put a lot of effort into it. And whenever we have any of these big reveals, whether it's a patch or a dungeon, like, we go to the map for a lot of the questions that we're asking, right? And I think that I think maybe that Square-Enix has kind of taken that hint and put a lot more thought and effort into designing this map because of that. I think that a lot of the stuff that we see on here in subtle ways, maybe not so subtle ways, are going to come into play throughout the expansion.
I mean, down here at the bottom, right next to the Siren Song Sea, we see the Crown, which is clearly a ship graveyard, and we all know we're going to get a ghost ship graveyard for a
just look at how colorful Othard is compared to Eorzea.
Yeah.
It's such a stark difference.
I'm kind of wondering if and I want to go and take a closer look at the map that we're going to be getting access to, but I'm curious if this northern area, this rocky area up here, is going to be available, or the burn down here. We see what looks like a sandworm, like that's straight up a sandworm right over there.
Looks like a really big sandworm.
Yeah, it does. But we also see some very, very large craters. So some possibly very cool confrontations that happen there, or possibly one of those fates, those large-scale fates. Because I mean, when you look at the other side, the other half of the map, what are the big beasts that you see?
You see dragons up top.
Because it's Dragonland.
Yeah, right. And what's interesting is that we also kind of get a look north of Eorzea to Old Charlayan as well, the Isle of Yorn. And
the Isle of Ham.
The Isle of Ham.
It's delicious there.
And what's now been described
is up there.
Yeah, as the Northern Empty. Now, here's another kind of cool thing that I noticed above Islabard is these series of floating islands over here, which is that supposed to be Azizla?
No, it can't.
It can't
way
be.
Too far away.
That looks like Sky, though. That straight up looks like that. Almost looks like Sky. I mean, doesn't that look very, very close design wise? I mean, it's a bunch of floating islands, but I guarantee you we haven't gotten there yet.
It's definitely more than Azizla.
Yeah. And then there
got Bismarck just chilling out.
Yeah, Bismarck just kind of hanging out here in the Sea of Clouds. But what is this?
Look at that fucking Godzilla.
Yeah, what's Godzilla doing over here?
I this map is probably one of the coolest things that they've ever released. Because when you keep in mind how long we've had this entire map of Eorzea, right? And all of Ishgard was just chilling up there, and it took us, the original release, A Realm Reborn, then we got Ishgard. Now they've added all of this shit. It's going to take expansions before we get to see or know what a bunch of this stuff really is.
I'm really fascinated by Islabard now. I mean, I maybe that was supposed to be the point, but like Islabard has definitely captured my imagination.
You know what this also kind of does is looking at all these different things. This could help Square-Enix and Yoshi P decide where we're going next based on hype and how much people get talking about stuff. But by far the coolest thing on this map is that Godzilla dude, because he's not just flying around, he's walking through the clouds.
Yeah, that definitely does seem like something. Like, that's... What the fuck is that?
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever
man.
he is, he's got to be more powerful than like Midgar Sormer. Like he's just chilling, walking around. That is ridiculous.
I'd also like to point out some of the small added details that they've added to Eorzea now, because
they have updated a little bit.
They have. They've added the what's the Broken Mountain's name? I can't
Somal.
Yeah, Somal. That's now shown as a destination, as well as our now rebuilt Idleshire.
Nice.
So that's kind of cool. Mm-hmm. I dig that.
All those dragons weren't on there prior, were they?
Yeah, they were. They definitely were. Yep. I mean, maybe not all of them. I know this big one was. Mm-hmm. No, that big sucker was. But I mean, like the thing is that like you could dissect this all day for all kinds of Easter eggs and speculation. And if you've got some speculation that you'd like to share on the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We're gonna go over to our phone lines and talk to Hanzo Saguara from Sargentanis, first time caller, long time listener. What's up, Hanzo?
Hey, I was excited about the announcement of the Samurai class, but a little disappointed that it's not a tank, because I've always wanted to get into tanking, but none of the, I guess you could say, themes of the other tanks appealed to me. What do you think? Do you think we needed another tank? Is Yoshi P right when he said that this is more balanced?
Man, I heard that justification. I still don't know that I necessarily agree with it. I think that if you're going to add 2 jobs, you have one of 2 choices. I think at that point it becomes a binary choice whether you add a DPS or not. If you add a DPS, you probably should add 2.
Yeah, I think it should have been 2 DPS or tank and healer.
Yes.
I don't know.
Tank and healer, though, I think Yoshi P is right that those 2 roles, in a large sense, end up affecting the game balance more drastically than a DPS does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think this was a move to save them from having additional balance concerns on top of reworking the battle system.
That's fair, probably. That's probably fair.
It's just easier, I guess, is what they were going for, but it's so lazy.
Because
and that's a theme that I feel like has been trickling out in weird spots. Like during, I believe it was the live letter, there was a question that was asked to which they responded. It was about the Hildebrand quests, right? They thought that, they're like, are we going to get more Hildebrand quests, and can we please have more trials again? That was much better. And they admitted, we think that we gave you guys too much in A Realm Reborn.
What?
And that blows my mind from like any possible aspect or angle. That shouldn't you want to give your customers, your player base, your fan base more than you think they deserve, or more than they want? Or surely you don't want to dial it back, because that is something they are going to notice and will hold against you. Should you not want to go above and beyond?
Yeah, well, I mean, we did know that they felt like they had something to prove coming off of 1.0.
Okay, but then you don't dial that back.
You come off an L like that, and there's no way, like, when you come back, you've got to come back strong.
I agree 100%.
But the problem is keeping it there. And I think some of some of the blame does need to be laid at our feet for keeping our expectations at that level. We probably should have known better than to keep our expectations at that level.
No. I feel like as a company, if they came off a loss with such a big win, that then is proof of concept. Like they should be able to take that to the higher ups and be like, we need more resources, we need more hands, we have to keep this up.
Should. But we all know that Square-Enix doesn't necessarily operate that way.
Well, then I think that's one of their problems as a company.
I agree.
That's why they have failing numbers on subscription.
But, I mean, we do know that they took development staff and applied it to 15. And,
a lot of good that did.
Well, they needed to. I mean, it was clear that the work needed to come from somewhere, and it had to be made up on some end. So, but I do think that you're not wrong when you call it lazy, but at the same time, I will call it lazy, but I will also at the same time say that us as players might have had our expectations set a little bit too high for Heavensward. There's almost no MMO expansion that is able to exactly double the size of the game or really end up feeling like, like you're getting the same thing that you get on launch. Like nothing ever feels like that. There's no expansion that can do that. There's never been a WoW expansion that does that. A WoW expansion feels like a WoW expansion. It never feels like a whole new fucking WoW. It's never as much as the first time because you've always got that big leveling process, that first level cap process. You've got learning the system. And these are all the things
there might be some truth to this, but I don't think as much of the, I don't want to say blame, but as much of the responsibility of it as you think might be laid at the player's feet.
I'm not saying what the ratio is. I'm just saying that that's a factor that needs to be in there. Our expectations have been high, and they were set very high by Square Enix's very diligent work and the high quality of content that we got from the 2.0 series to 2.55. Wasn't in very.
You know what?
That was such an impressive run of content that it's almost setting them up for failure to expect the exact same feat again.
I can definitely see where you're coming from, but I think what probably compounds the frustration for me as a player is through 3.0, noticing that they're making the same shortcomings all the time, and then so far what we've seen of what's going to possibly be coming with Stormblood, and I think that'll be the deciding factor, is if they keep making those same shortcomings through 4.0, or if they at least try to pick up their piece, not saying necessarily bring more content, right? But at least bring us sharper and cleaner content with what they do give us.
I mean, yeah, and I think that they made a lot of bold decisions in 2.0 that they didn't end up making in 3.0. And I'm not going to sit here and excuse the hit in content that we did take between 2 and 3.0. I just don't think that hit is going to feel as drastic between 3 and 4. And it may even feel like a tick up in quality for a while too. But the thing is we're getting all of this geographic space with Othard. How is that geographic space going to be utilized? Maps almost mean nothing in this game because once you out-level the map, there's no danger there. Once you get flying, there's no danger there. We do know that there's going to be flying.
Yes.
Does anyone still like flying?
No.
Honest question, because
not to mention because there's so many aetherites and you get put so close to your destination to begin with.
Yeah. But the caller's original question was, are we disappointed with Samurai not being a tank?
Oh, yeah.
And I think I am. I think I would have liked to see an evasion-based tank just to see how that ends up operating. I'm definitely less interested in picking up and playing Samurai knowing that it's a DPS and not a tank. If it was a tank, I would have definitely tried it out. I don't think it would have overtaken, I guarantee you it would not have overtaken Dark Knight. But I could see if it's cool, if some of the gear is cool, if I like the animations, and if it's fun to play, it may be my DPS main. Because right now my DPS main is Dragoon, so it's not
I've never
like
seen you even play Dragoon.
No, I don't. But I'd consider leveling it. Mm-hmm. I'd consider leveling it.
Should we talk some more about Samurai then?
Like long before I would consider leveling Red Mage.
That's fair. Red Mage is the best.
Shut up, you dumb fuck.
Wow. Rude.
You dumbass.
Stop it. So, yeah, let's talk Samurai. By the way, thanks for the call, Hanzo. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
So
we'd love to hear from you.
The first thing I'd like to say is thank you so much, Square-Enix, for not tacking it on to Ninja Gear. Oh, now what I really like about this whole thing, right, is, all right, so it's a DPS. That's awesome. I'm pretty sure that Nika said she hopes it's not a DPS because otherwise she's going to like mess up her static because she wants to main it.
That's what I'm really happy
On top of that, she now has to compete with Senpai over gear.
That's right.
Oh, isn't that so
okay, no,
great?
hold on. I'm pretty sure she's not going to change from Paladin.
I don't think that, even if she wanted to, I don't think that her static wouldn't let her unless there's somebody else who's on a DPS that's willing to step into her role as tank. But even then, even if she does do that, she now has to compete with Senpai for gear, and I feel like because he's been a monk longer, he gets seniority over gear.
Well, he's also a guy, so of course he's gonna get gear over someone with a vagina,
right? I don't know. I don't think she's gonna be able to main it. I don't think she's.
No.
On top of the fact that she has to, like, she's their tank, and even if she went Samurai, now they have a gear discrepancy, and she would take longer to get gear. Nah, I don't think she gets to play Sam.
And you know what? I bet Samurai's probably gonna be like harder to play. And let's be honest.
Remember how quickly she dropped Black Mage?
Yeah.
I mean, I like
how terrible she is at Ninja. She's not gonna be able to play Samurai.
Yeah, I love the notion that this is really gonna end up like messing up her her raid static, and her raid static is really gonna give her pressure to keep playing as a tank.
Hold on. I think Squarenix just did us a favor
because it's like her version of FF11 all over again. She loved Samurai, but she never got it. She was never allowed to play it.
Squarenix was on a whole nother level. We didn't want them to introduce Samurai so we could keep making fun of her, but they're like, no. What if we introduce Samurai, but she can never play it?
That's way funnier.
Yoshi. Oh, Yoshi, you clever bastard.
No, what if they go next level? Like, Nika finds a way to actually play Samurai, except the problem is Samurai
is worse than Machinist.
It's complete garbage. They want them less than monks and Machinists.
This is brilliant.
Oh man,
this
Square-Enix,
is brilliant.
Square-Enix, the power is in your hands now. You've taken away the ability for us to troll her with not having Samurai in the game, but you could take this to a whole nother level. Please.
You have to do this, Square-Enix.
Now,
Square-Enix, please.
The only worry I have was Ninja was the first new DPS that they added, right? And it was overpowered at first. And then they came out with Machinist, and it was obviously super underpowered. So if the trend continues, it's also a Far Eastern job, so...
And we know how good Far Eastern jobs are, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be a balance, though, right? Like, you've got to balance the equation. If one of them's really good, then the other one has to be really bad.
Yeah, but we have two DPS this time, so Red Mage has got to be really, really good because it looks awesome. Samurai has got to be the balancing factor, which means it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And can we talk about how the animations look? Can anyone else say letdown?
You know, I have to say that Samurai back in 11, and you're right, super cool. It had like the whole like Shogun type like aesthetic going on, like everything that they had.
God.
But it was also like there was no cult, there was no like city or culture to attach it to or something.
Yeah.
Like I almost kind of don't like the fact that there's an entirely Far Eastern aesthetic city that this is all originating around, because like having to go to Bastook and learn it from someone who it was a martial trait that was passed down through families and generations and stuff like that. That was much more of a compelling narrative point than I think.
Wait, was it not tied to Ergen eventually?
Don't think so.
No.
Where did it originate from?
There was still the far east.
Which we never.
I never finished Adeline. If they did flesh that out, I don't know about it.
Okay, all right.
Wasn't it like Adeline?
You're not just like salty because Dark Knight has nothing but some aura sitting in the middle of nowhere.
I absolutely am. I'm sorry. Like, wait a minute. So ninja and samurai get an entire section of the map
and
to
monk.
call to
And
fucking have. The focus on them, but what is a Dark Knight's just some dude that hangs out in a bar in
Look
fucking
at what you're
Ishgard?
doing. Look at what you're doing.
Aw.
You're being all emo and complaining. You're channeling Dark Knight. It's so meta.
It's so stupid.
It's so meta.
That's so fucking dumb.
This is exactly what they want you to do. This is your legacy.
Get fucked.
He's so salty.
But I mean, like,
If you want-
really, dude, it sucks. I think, like, Dark Knight, like, there's not much identity that comes along with Dark Knight. It's like this thing that happens, and then it's like no one ever mentions Dark Knights as a force, but like you get tons of mentions of dragoons and monks as like these sort of like cultural symbols.
And ninjas eventually.
Maybe when we go up to Eorzeans and we face this fucking giant Godzilla thing, maybe we have to call on the Dark Knights to help us.
Fuck off. I do want to figure out what that Godzilla. That's really fascinating.
You know what?
That's really fascinating.
That's Hengar.
Okay, so does anyone like how the fact that samurai...
He's walking out. That's what Hengar has become. He's gone. Okay, go ahead.
Do you like the armor aesthetic?
No, I don't. No, I think it's a step down. I mean,
It looks
I feel like they
a
tried
wandering
to.
hobo in a bathrobe carrying a sword. That's what samurais are.
It's Auron.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I feel like
it doesn't have like alcohol to like bring them up though.
I feel like this is aimed more at like the Ronin aesthetic, like dishonored samurais, right? Than it is actual like samurais. Like I'm telling you, FF11 when they had like the more armored aesthetic, like the Shogun armor and stuff like that, I thought that was freaking cool as heck. But they can't do that anymore because it shares the same armor with Monk. So going forward, you're not going to get any more like armored type of stuff that actually looks like samurai shogun stuff because Monk has to be able to wear it too. The only way that they might be able to do it is if they introduce some type of new like AF tome gear sort of stuff, but it's always been shared since AF. That was the only time it's all been separated, and since then it's all been shared stuff. So yeah, I think from now on, samurais are basically just going to be monks with swords. Like aesthetic wise,
I'm really not feeling the armor design that they have for the guy, and also his haircut makes him look like he is about to walk into Hot Topic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jux actually thought that it was Derplander at first, and I'm like, no, it can't be Derplander. He's just a monk.
I thought I'm like Derplander. No.
It's definitely not Derplander.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's see if we can't suss out how combat's going to work for it, because the ways that they described it, chaining combos together, that hit me as Monk, okay? And then because they have these three sword styles where they flower, moon, and snow, sorry, but that says to me ninja. So it's like this weird mix of like ninja move type deals that sort of combos together like Monk ones, and then they get combo points.
It's like they're trying to copy off Ninja. That's what I feel.
It definitely feels like they're encroaching on Ninja here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't like the animations at all. It's like you're just
It's so
flashing.
weeby. It's so weeby. Like I'm waiting for the fucking cherry blossoms. You know what I mean? Like I'm waiting for that. Just like they just seem so. Ugh.
One of the things that I like most about Ninja...
Because one of the forms is fucking flower form or some shit like that.
Flower form. One of the things that I like about Ninja and
Gay!
and Monk as well is that the aesthetic in the actual combat and moveset design isn't in the effects that happen after, like, the explosions or the flowers or the sparkles, whatever. It's in the actual moves that they make, right? Like, ninjas do some really sweet stuff.
Yeah.
But when you have giant weapons like that, like, people tried to tell me, oh, Dragoon moves look cool. Wait till you get this move. And it's all just the same. You just thrust and you get a different sparkly explosion piece of crap.
Yeah, which is why clearly Ninja is the most superior job, because we can change things together and all of our shit looks good.
Yes, Juxta, that's a given, though. Look, as much as I want to sit here and blow Ninja, this is about shaming Samurai, okay? I mean, you could hear it in the hype of the room when they finally announced Samurai. I think the biggest sentiment, what's really cool, is what I think outweighs the people being like, oh yeah, Sam is here, Sam hype, is the amount of people that are like, that was like the safe choice, like the safe bet.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't surprise anyone.
Right, exactly.
Okay,
and by the way,
hold on. Let's not take away how awful Samurai actually is. Did Red Mage surprise anybody? No,
not really. But there
how
was a lot
hype was it?
It was hype.
It was pretty hype.
Maximum hype. Samurai just sucks.
No,
let's be honest.
Hang on. First of all, the Sam Raimi
God
connection is quite possibly still
the stupidest thing.
Even though it's coming from Yoshi P himself, dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. It's fucking so stupid. There's no way around that. Sam Raimi, go fuck yourself. That's dumb as dumb can be. So now that we have that established.
Leave it to the fucking weeaboos to figure out that shit day one.
Exactly. I mean, just, ugh. Makes me cringe it's that bad. And I love all the people who piped up on Twitter afterwards and was like, no, don't flash back! Was like, oh, haha, look at you guys. You look how dumb you look. Like, of course it was going to be Samurai. Like, that's the sort of the dumb... like, what do you expect us to do? Come out here and go, hey, we all think it's Samurai. Good night. Have a nice night. You know what I mean? Like, that's not much of a fucking show. You guys get off on the speculating that we do, and then you want to try to rub it in our faces when the speculation, the wild speculation that we throw out there is wrong?
You're going to try to make fun of us for entertaining you?
Yeah.
Yeah! Still should have been mime.
What?
I don't know. We should have been mime.
He wanted to be mime.
Yeah.
Why? Why should it have been mime?
Because mimes are cool. Because we haven't seen a mime in an MMO ever before. Do you need a better reason than that?
That's actually true.
Because I want Yoshi P to work for my fucking $15 a month. God damn it.
You pay more than $15, don't you?
Why do you got to bring that up? Every time, man.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Decker Turlian, or Turlian. Turd Lion. Decker Turd Lion of Siren. What's going on, Decker?
Good evening. I don't exactly appreciate the new nickname, but...
It's okay, Turd Lion.
You're welcome.
It's just a part of being on the show.
You think I would have figured it out by now, but oh well.
Yeah, no. I mean, some people it takes them a little bit longer. What do you want to talk about, bud?
I'm calling in, to touch on what the previous caller called in for, the fact we got no tanks or healers. I'm calling in to ask your opinions on what could actually be done to the current tank and healer meta, for example. Currently, the meta is just warrior, always warrior, no change there. Mm-hmm. And then Dark Knight, and then once in a blue moon paladin. They can clear a 12 savage, for example, but no one takes them over the other ones.
Yeah, you're right.
Only when you pity Nika.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's not really, you don't get role specific fights like you do in other MMOs where a specific tank is desired over another one. Decker's right. It's pretty much go warrior. Warrior.
Well, yeah.
Or go
Why
home.
would you go anything else? I mean, no one else has a slashing debuff.
That's how bad it is.
It is. I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping that some of the system side adjustments that they're going to be doing, because they said that they want to equalize the playing field and make the gap between quote unquote bad players and good players less. They want to close that gap a little bit. And
that's my hope as well, and that's why I don't care if they have no tanks or healers. It means they're working on the current tanks and healers more so.
Which is what they said. They want to work on perfecting the tanks and healers that they do have.
Well, I think just perfecting the meta, perfecting the distribution of expectations. I mean, if you can expect that your tank that you're bringing along, a warrior can do X amount of damage. If you've got to sub them out, then there should be a mechanism or a way for another, a Dark Knight to be able to.
And there are them, but it's not optimal.
It's not. You're right.
Paladins are okay in some of the fights. Like they sometimes they're more effective to have than a Dark Knight, just because the fight is more physical. Like that's what you were saying a moment ago.
Right, and that's the thing is that I don't think that the fights are designed because and I think back specifically to FF11, you had certain mobs and certain NMs, fights where you literally it made no sense to bring physical DPS, where you had to stack up on mages and magical damage.
Don't feed TP.
Exactly. So, I mean, you don't have those types of tactics here, so you can't rely on that kind of meta to be able to drive the game, right? So, I think when you have a meta that's as streamlined as FF14 is, this becomes an intrinsic problem. How do you end up balancing the uniqueness in terms of feel of a job outside of animations, outside of aesthetics, and still make it as viable as your other jobs that are in that category? I don't know what the answer to that is. It's definitely a complicated question, and I'm not really a game designer. I wish I never really have been, so it's hard for me to really think on that level. But as a player, I do feel like, switching from Warrior to Dark Knight was not that drastic of a switch, and all I really saw was a DPS decrease. And the only thing that keeps me at Dark Knight is straight up my love for the idea of the job. I don't even know that I love the mechanics of the job that much. I just love the idea of the job.
Even though he doesn't feel like he has an identity as a Dark Knight.
I don't think that Dark Knights as a job have a very good identity or a very fleshed out lore, nor do they have any kind of impact on the world at large. You don't see any other player character, you don't see any other NPCs talk about them, reference them.
Yeah,
they're not a
in
force.
11 you had Zaid.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Zaid, whatever his name was.
Yeah, you had something. You had at least something. Like, yeah, okay, Dark Knights are rare, but look at this badass motherfucker.
Who?
Zaid.
They should bring.
Come on.
They should bring Estinian back as an actual Dark Knight after all that happens.
Boo.
Yeah.
Boo.
Dude, he was a total Dark Knight badass. He was so emo.
Badass, maybe not, but Dark
Badass, yes,
like
but
emo,
he's more badass than a Dark Knight.
Emo, I'll give you. Decker, thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it. And we love hearing from all of these first-time callers. This is great. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord.
Thank you, Turdline.
I'm actually super surprised that no one has actually called in to try and defend us against Nika. It just goes to show you that not only are all of her white knights super lame for trying to white knight her, but they're hypocrites. Because when they actually have reason and ammunition to call in and really defend her,
because she's not,
still don't do it.
Well, because it's, you know why? It's because she's not here. She's not here to hear it, because if it
doesn't benefit them.
Right,
Gotcha.
right.
Okay, but she'll hear it on the podcast
Nika doesn't listen to this podcast. You know that.
Come forth, coward!
But that's the thing, though. I think the logic there is, Nika won't even hear me defend her, so then I'll definitely never get my dick sucked. And that, first of all, let's be clear, that's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. So White Knights, you can just pack that up and take that in.
Never say never.
That's
never going to happen.
I mean, okay, maybe if we threw Escalia at him, but
dressed up as Nika.
They'll never know the difference.
It's totally Nika, guys.
Ignore the large gaping hole in his tongue.
I think
the extra pleasure.
I think it'd be funny to have Nika literally throwing him dressed as her at someone. That should be a postcard. That needs to be I just came up with a postcard.
We will have an edition of the postcards where it's two of the hosts interacting in some way. Yeah.
But the thing is look, man, she's not going to fall in love with you because you come to her defense over Samurai.
Oh, they don't want love. They just want a dick sucking.
Well, that's not. I don't know that that's necessary. There's some weird deluded people in our audience.
Evil hippie saying I would let Escalia suck my dick.
That's weird, evil hippie.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Yeah.
You'll get like tongue aids or something.
Tongue aids.
Especially given current circumstances. Anyway. AIDS! Yeah.
AIDS.
Okay. Anyway, so we also...
Sloppy.
God damn it.
It's been like a half an hour.
I don't give a shit. I never want to hear that drop again.
I will literally dig your eyes out with grapefruit spoons.
I'm going to start renaming that drop and seeing if we can find it each episode.
I think that's a good idea.
Grapefruit spoons?
Grapefruit spoons. They're the ones that have the little serrated edge.
Okay, well,
make it easier
fine.
on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's fine then.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you're just I thought for some reason a grapefruit spoon might be like duller than normal.
How do you get duller than a normal spoon?
I don't know.
Do you make it like thicker?
Do you name it Thor Carson? Oh! Sorry, Thor. You were the first. You were the first name that I saw in the chat room. I'm sorry. That was so mean.
No,
that was so mean, but it was so funny.
Oh, that was so good.
I couldn't help myself. That was great. Anyway, let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Rav Mal of Cactar. What's going on, Rav? Another first-time caller. What's up, Rav?
Hey guys. Not too much. Really hyped about Samurai, especially since I'm main monk. It's super awesome that they are, sharing the gear there.
Yeah, so you'll get to take all of your gear that you've been wearing. See, I had the same thing going into Heavensward, and this is why I was so stoked on Dark Knight being a tank, and that I had already been there with Warrior. Is that I hit the ground running as soon as you got to 60.
I have a question for you, Rav.
Or rather 50.
So they said that one of the draws to Samurais was going to be that each weapon is going to have its own individual scabbard sheath for it to put into, which means
kind of cool.
It is kind of cool, but that means that they can't do much
I can't hit on that.
No. So my question is this: they can't really do much with the blade then, because it always has to be able to fit in there, right? That means that all the cool, awesome, weapons that we get. For you guys,
it's going to be on the fucking scabbard.
It's always going to be the scabbard that has the cool ornate designs, not necessarily the blade itself. How do you feel about that?
Right, I heard that as well, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I get it. But I took a second look at actually, I think it was a picture that was posted of Yoshi P cosplaying, and if you looked at the blade, it looks like it does have a slight design to it. So I think
there might be little designs on it, but
and I guarantee you that when you do things like animal weapons, that it'll have a glow to it as well.
Definitely.
Only on the scabbard, though.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny if the glow was only applied to the scabbard? It stays on your belt.
Stupid idiot.
That'd be funny.
You're so dumb.
That would be so funny. I do think that's pretty interesting. So a lot of your gear from Monk will be ready to go for Samurai right out of the gate. What else are you excited for?
Actually, the one thing I wanted to mention is you had mentioned the city underwater earlier, and that got me thinking, especially because of the new Beast Tribe. I think it's their city. Because I think there's a lore in Japanese about Orohime, and unfortunately I'm not familiar with it. I read about it a while back, but I think she's has some tie-in with turtles or something like that, and she's supposed to have this underwater palace that she drags some guy down to.
Can I tell you why I hope it's not that? Because I think that's a really weird thing to give such a focus on in the trailer.
Well, it depends, because up till now, all Beast Tribes...
Is Eskyla's Maycoat still single? I need a wife in game. Lola.
All right, you know what? We're going to hook you up, Sevo. We're going to get you married to Escalia. Okay, but no, going back. So far, every Beast Tribe we've ever encountered has been a little side sort of ancillary type deal, right? So the only way that I could see that being the Beast Tribe place underwater is if they plan on that Beast Tribe playing a bigger role in the story at large.
You think?
That's the only way it could possibly be that, because you're right. When have we ever seen another Beast Tribe focused on in anything? I mean, even the Mughals, which played a large role in the main story quest, have still never really been featured in any kind of
Yeah, but at the same time, the Beast Tribe quests haven't been as removed as they are. So I thought that really the only justifiable way to do that, like have that scene in there and it also be attached to only the Beast Tribe quest, is if they're finding a reason to take your perspective from a camera point of view, focal point of view, under the water. Like, they needed a reason to do that, and if that's really the only reason we're going to be underwater ever, then maybe that's an excuse to do that. But I think it would be interesting if you had an end game area or a battle area that was focused underwater, much like, you had in kind of a very loosely connected way. You had Diadem sort of representing sky in a way, and then a lot of people had been like, well, we're gonna have a sea in Stormblood, and I was like, man, you're fucking stupid, and I mean, now look how dumb I look. But if they did end up if they wanted to have that nice little nod, that wink and a nod to FF11's development and FF11's content push, then having an endgame area or an event that happens underneath the sea, I think is pretty compelling, especially if they change it up so drastically like they clearly have. I mean, that just looked like a straight up city out of
taking context from other types of MMOs, what that struck me as was a destination, like an end game sort of destination. I don't possibly know where it could lead us to based on the information we have thus far, but I mean, if you were to harken back to like Final Fantasy XI, that's the type of city that would lead you to sea or something like that, right? So. I don't know, and unless they have the Beastmen playing a much bigger, more pivotal role in the main storyline quest, I'm not sure that. And
it's also got a bubble. Like, it's got a bubble, which means that I think that you don't. There's no reason to have your characters not like you can have your character swimming and interact with a Beast Tribe member, right? Like, interact with an NPC. Right? Like, that seems pretty easy. But if you want to have battle underwater, they said that they're not going to do underwater combat. What better way is that than to have a bubble around the thing that, you're going into, so that way you're actually walking on dry land. So if the thing that we see is the entrance and we're going down into it, that to me seems very closely thematically aligned with Palace of the Dead. So that was the reason that I immediately thought.
I do like the idea of that being the new Palace of the Dead, but for the same reason that a Beast Tribe, I don't think would be featured in the trailer. I wouldn't think that the Palace of the Dead would be featured in the trailer.
You don't, because Palace of the Dead was very well received. It was a feature that was very well received, I could actually see them taking an event like that and giving it a little. Just a little moment on the trailer, yeah.
If it has any sort of connection narratively, sure, but just, like, if it's completely removed from everything else, like the current Palace of the Dead is, I don't see the reason to put it in there.
But like I said, the reason that it was put in there, I think, was just to give the camera a reason to go underwater and remind the viewer again, hey, we're gonna have swimming, we're gonna have these underwater areas.
If it was, I would like the whole area, that whole city, to somehow be involved with the whole Palace of the Dead idea, because the idea is that you're going down all these floors, so it wouldn't need a city above it, unless.
But it's not a city, though. It's one structure. It's one. It seems like the entrance point to something. That's that, and it seems very small. Like, if it was a Beast Tribe area, that's like 4 Beast Tribe members that could live underneath that thing.
Have you seen how small some of these Beast Tribe camps are?
Okay, yeah. So you're not wrong. It could be that.
I'd like to see more effort put into the staging area for the Palace of the Dead too. Like if you actually went down there to it before you entering, that'd be cool.
Rav, what would you prefer it to be? Would you rather it be a look, like a peek at the Beast Tribe, a wink and a nod at the Beast Tribe, or would you rather it be something a little bit more substantial, like a new Palace of the Dead?
Actually, when you brought that up earlier, I thought that was a fantastic theory, and that I would love that. But now thinking about it as well and seeing its positioning, the other thought I have is, what if it's like Somal, where it's this intermediary to the new area from Kugane to Doma?
Underwater?
We don't know what type of governmental society they have. If it's following, Japan type stuff.
Feudal Japan.
I would assume they have like an emperor and empress or something. If they have some type of equivalent to like a holy city or like a holy temple or something like that, maybe that's what that is. And the fact that they have the 4 sky gods flying around too, they could maybe somehow play into that as well. That it's some type of like last bastion of hope or sanctuary or something.
What if that was specifically, like a shrine for something like Genbu? You go there, and it's got something to do with Genbu, and something happens there.
A trial or something.
But you have 4 of these individual shrines that you have to go to in various locations. One of them is under the water. One of them is up in the sky. One of them is deep in a cave. Another one, you know what I mean? Like
one's in mud.
That might even be kind of cool too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting ideas. Rav, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to call Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We'll talk to you about Samurai. We'll talk to you about Othard. We'll talk to you about Alamigo, where you think the story's going, what the narrative arc is. We've got just about another hour here before we wrap up the show. I don't know. I got to say, we're going very slowly through all of this. I'm not 100% sure that we're going to be able to get through all of the Q&A for the press conference and all of the Q&A that happened before the live letter. We will cover the hard information that they talked about in the live letter, talking about patch 3.55 A and B. We definitely will talk about that before wrapping up today. But if we keep getting calls the way that we are, and I do want to encourage your calls, that we'll end up saving some of these Q&A discussions for episode 101. So obviously we'll have Nika on that show. She'll be able to react to a lot of this. It's weird that after like your dream job gets announced like that, it's like a rule that the next episode that LBR host can't appear, because when Red Mage dropped, the episode just preceding that announcement.
JP FanFest. I was.
Yeah, you were not here. You could not attend. And now that we got Samurai hard confirmed, Nika cannot attend this episode. So I find that to be an interesting trend that we've set. I don't know why we do this.
Because fuck you.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
To build the anticipation and suspense, you idiots.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Belle Bordeaux of Leviathan, another first-time caller and first-time viewer of the channel. What's up, Belle? Thanks for calling Limit Break Radio.
Hey, not much. Just farming lore and wondering what you think the viability of Samurai being a slash class would be versus Monk. Not only are they arguing over their gear, but there's spots in raids where slashing classes just synergize better with Ninja, Warrior, Dark Knight.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. How is this going to end up affecting raid composition? Because are you going to end up having the same benefit of having a monk and a monk and a samurai versus having a pair of DPS that kind of complement each other's skills better?
A samurai and a ninja and a whatever those things are called, warrior.
But I mean, like,
what about Dragoon for Litany?
There definitely does seem to be some skill overlap, and I think that this is a good question because we have another job that is ostensibly a slashing skill job. Mm-hmm. So how do we see this end up shaking out in terms of raid structure? I don't know. I quit raiding a while ago. I quit waiting. It was too hard.
To be fair, I don't know that any of us really ever Oh, you know what? I'm going to bring this up now, just as a look forward to it, all right? Because Ascalia was really, really upset that Nika wasn't going to be here, and then obviously he had to go home because he's in pain and stuff like that.
Good.
He passed her in progression.
Shut up.
What?
He downed 11A or A11? Alexander S11, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Nika is no longer
a casual.
Our endgame correspondent.
So that means we don't have to have her
what
back,
are we keeping her around for?
I don't know.
Tits?
That's pretty good.
I really hope that it upsets him that I broke that news too.
No, I think he's got other things to worry about.
So all right, you guys.
That women are equal to men.
You guys.
I'm serious.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like, at least in comparison to a lot of the other a lot of the other MMOs I've played, I don't feel like individual job synergy is as important in the Final Fantasy 14 raid environment as other ones. I feel like it's basically which classes individually can do the most damage.
Well, and you do have quite a bit of a skill gap there too. The player makes the difference as opposed to the gear making the difference. And I know that that's been a point of contention of ours for a long time, where that I think that having better gear or better gear options can compensate for that a little bit. And I understand that having player skill defining that solely is probably not the worst idea, and certainly creates a very skill-driven economy, I guess you could call it.
Hero Manic in the chat. No, I'm not saying that that's not completely, like, you're right. I think that's, but that's like the best and only example is warriors and ninjas. I remember an earlier show, we were talking to Nick about how to squeeze out like an extra few percentage in her raids, and we talked about the idea of like synergizing certain moves, like saving big cooldowns for when the ninja uses trick attack, so that way you're getting even more out of them. Because in games like World of Warcraft, it's all about what it is. Like, you communicate with everyone to line up every tiny single little thing to get as much out of it as you can.
But there doesn't seem to be that.
Exactly. In Final Fantasy 14, it's basically you do as much DPS as you yourself can do, period.
I mean, part of that might have to do with the rotation. I think that there are some very skilled groups who do kind of communicate on that level.
Probably.
I have heard communication on that level, but certainly it's not a requirement to be able to get anything done. Nor was it necessarily for WoW either. But I think the meta is slightly different between WoW and between FF14, where you get better returns for having a higher overall DPS than you do synergizing and lining up skills and going for big cluster numbers like you did on WoW. You still had points where people were paying attention to the spike damage, those big accumulation of numbers, and I don't think that you have that. You don't have a skill that's as noticeable a debuff on the boss to be able to take chunks of health away like that. It seems to be a much more sustained thing, and the DPS increase is a lot less tangible, right? Like, you're not seeing it necessarily in individual strikes. Like, some of your end combos might end up peaking out, but you don't necessarily even notice that. If you don't have the scrolling numbers on the screen, you're almost guaranteed not to notice that, because the number that you're paying attention to, if you've got any kind of parser up, or if you've got any kind of measurement tool up that's telling you what the DPS numbers are, the only number that matters is the end DPS number, your end DPS number, because that's the number that you're judged on and qualified by groups in most often, right?
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I just this seems like the most appropriate place to put this. Another question asked of Yoshi P directly about getting some kind of parser tool or some kind of tool to measure your DPS more than beating up on a goddamn stone dummy. And again, another fundamentally unsatisfying response from Square-Enix, which was essentially no.
Yeah. What if you I think the question was like, can we have a tool that tells us personally what we're doing?
DPS is?
No, because then people would require you to tell them what you're doing, and it would just be another mean for drama.
So
and
just
then,
lie.
And then Koji Fox saying, well, don't worry, what we have in the works is maybe something to do a thing where it kind of gives you an idea of maybe, like it was so convoluted, like they might as well have just assigned colors based on your DPS.
Right. And like, look,
kind of like how we have colors for our threat,
which is not necessarily the worst thing. Yeah. Like, right? Like, that was not necessarily the worst system that they had ever introduced. But here's the thing, though, is that, Square Enix is not on the hook for making sure that every aspect of their game is perfectly balanced and perfectly, not frustrating. Like there's got to be a point where someone says, "Yeah, fuck it, that's the way it is." You know what I mean?
Because drama exists in your game regardless of if you give us tools to perpetuate drama. So if the drama's already there, you might as well give us some cool tools that are also going to help us, and then guess what? We can just ignore the drama.
The drama's not just there, but the tools are already there. The tools are already there, and basically what they're saying is, well, we want to keep having these tools be, technically against the rules so that we can selectively enforce when we don't like the application. Like if we think that parsing numbers are being used in a harassing way, we can just remove this player for using a parser, not for being a dick, or not for violating conduct rules, but for violating the TOS.
Yeah, cold, hard, fast rule. If there's no interpretation used as parser, you're out.
And it's a technicality that you can get any of those people on. And I think that that's sort of, Square-Enix is trying to have their cake and eat it too by saying, well, we don't want to introduce this tool that could potentially lead to harassment or potentially lead to disharmony in the community.
Okay, so
but at the same time, holding it back from people doesn't solve the problem either.
Is there even really a problem at this point? Because everybody who wants a parser has access to a parser.
Except for PlayStation 4 players.
They don't count as people.
Okay.
That's fair.
At this point, we're basically demanding that Square-Enix put forth development time and resources into having something that we already have just for the fact of making it, quote, official.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly. What? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
We already have parsers.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh well, if you introduce that, then people can pick that code apart and find ways to make it more. Dude, we already have it. We already have parsers. Are you saying that you don't want to introduce parsers so that we make more complex parsers? We already have the more complex parsers.
We don't.
ACT is a fucking thing. It's not gonna you can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Though? If they were to come out with an official parser, what I think that would do is it would encourage some people who don't go to the extra length to get parsers to start trying to be better, because now that number's put there in front of them. I guarantee you there are some people who otherwise never would have touched a parser before. Once that number is there, once that number is available for them, obviously you can turn it off. So there might be some people who just turn it off, but there would be people that now that they can see that number,
now that it's there,
they don't have to
go look for it.
They want it to be higher.
Yeah, that's definitely me.
Yeah,
because I'm not going to go and download it because I don't really care. Mm-hmm. But if it's right there, then I'm going to brag about it.
Well, not even just brag about it, but you're going to want it.
Though.
Okay, but you're going to want it.
Because my dick is better than yours.
You're going to want it to be higher.
Yeah,
longer.
Totally.
Yeah. Longer.
Okay.
No,
dick.
I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
I think that's totally fair. You set that information in front of people, they're going to want to maximize that number. That's just a kind of natural response. Gamer's nature.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just don't know. Bell, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. We've got a couple of more people in line, but if you'd like to give us a call, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. Yeah, lots of new people.
Callers,
lots of new people.
I did notice we got a host early on from Theology something. For a bunch of people.
Nice.
So
interesting.
These could all be new people.
By the way, I want to send a shout out to almost the 400 people watching us right now. Thank you guys. Live here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio. Hit the follow button if you're having a good time. We're here every weekend at 4 p.m. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio and limitbreakradio.com.
And hit that follow button if you're not having a good time. We got that Venn diagram, 2 circles. They're just one circle, overlapping everything.
There you go.
Just hit that follow button, period.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Trinixia of Ultros. What's going on, Trinixia?
Hey, thanks for having me. Can you guys hear me well?
Yeah.
Sound good.
Awesome. Anyways, I wanted to talk about a couple small things. First off is during the keynote, USP revealed the artwork for the Japanese cover arts.
It's good art. I definitely like that artwork. There's definitely a couple of faces in there that don't ring any bells at all.
Are we talking about the one where Yugiri is like right there in the center of it?
Right down the center.
Oh, it's such a good picture.
Yoshi P did say that it features many of the key characters that are going to be in the expansion. Does that mean, since Ida's not in there, that she's the girl in red?
I think you might be onto something.
But wait, Juxtadamus says that the lady in red's name is going to be Ursula.
But wait, was Poplimo in there?
I didn't see him.
Poppy's dead,
Why-
bro.
Ah!
Poppy's dead.
Poppy?
whoa.
I like
Admit
that
it.
nickname.
Admit it.
Poppy's dead.
Poppy's
Poppy's
gone.
not dead.
Poppy's dead.
Poppy, as we know him, is dead.
He's part.
Fair.
He's part of. He's part of Omega now.
Relgar.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then another small thing was going off about us going over towards Doma area. It's probably because Yugiri said that she was going to gather her allies, and maybe that's why we're going over there. And maybe in the future, kind of go into guard mode from both ends.
We need more of a reason to go than just helping Yugiri. Like,
What? Come on,
no.
You want a piece of that R and ass? Come on.
No, it doesn't matter because she's getting together with Emmerich now. Like the Emmerich Yugiri shipping is happening, and I just see Emmerich coming
my
up.
God.
I see Emmerich coming up to us and being like, "I need you to do me a favor. You help me with my homeland. I need you to go help my girl now. Like, could you do me a solid?" Like,
Look,
goddamn,
dude, I don't think I'm homies like that with Emmerich. I don't think I'm that close with him.
No.
You had
Definitely
like a drink
not.
with him.
That's fine.
He tried to get into your pants.
Yeah, he did.
That's fine. But still,
He
though,
was gonna date rape
I
you.
don't. Yeah, I
Roofied you.
Nihilus says if Yugiri tells me to jump, I jump.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, I don't know, man. The art is definitely interesting, and the fact that Ida is not featured very prominently. The woman in red definitely is up there at the top right, no, top left.
Top left.
I hope that Yida gets self-destructive enough to sacrifice herself on top of Poppymo's death. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Now, Juxtadamus, why do you think that her name is going to be Ursula?
Because Ursula was a monk in the Final Fantasy XIV After Years, and she wore a red dress, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. What'd you say?
That I heard After Years, and I just tuned out.
Yeah.
As soon as I hit After Years, the rest of it was a dial tone. Yeah, it was just gone.
All right, sorry, I'm gonna try extra hard to pay attention to what you're saying. Please repeat yourself.
Try again.
There's a character named Ursula who wears a red dress and is also a monk in Final Fantasy XIV. T-A-Y.
Final Fantasy 14 T-A-Y.
14?
14? You mean 4?
You mean 4?
Oh, yeah, 4. Final Fantasy 4.
Oh, my God. So now you're trying to draw a parallel between 14 and 4? I really wish I wouldn't have tried extra hard.
Yeah.
That you're terrible.
Hey, my prediction about Cryo came through.
You know, that's like the one prediction. None of your Stormblood predictions have came true so far.
What do you mean?
Juxtadamus has lost his ability.
Yeah, I don't think that you were in the samurai camp, were you?
Yeah, and I'm not crediting you with like being right about Red Mage because of course Red Mage.
Yeah, Red Mage was so obvious.
Yeah,
so obvious, just like obvious, like samurai.
Yes,
well,
Samurai was obvious.
I was waiting. I was sort of waiting for that deke out that we got with Astrologian. I was waiting for that. Mm-hmm. Like that's when I saw the samurai or the Spider-Man T-shirt. That's why I went. Like my head went to so many random fucking places because I was like, oh shit, man, this could be a million different things. Mm-hmm. Because I thought we were going to get that sharp left turn like we did with Astrologian, but we got none of that this time.
No surprises.
Yeah, no, this was if
they played it safe with the jobs this time.
We should have got Purple Mage.
They really did. But if you think about it, dude, they really did because these are literally the most 2 requested classes ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've even seen at anyone who went to the 2014 and then this past FanFest, there were literally surveys passed around with what jobs do you want to see in FF14.
Oh my God.
I guarantee you that this was a line item that the requests for Red Mage and Samurai were so drastically high.
I don't see anyone wanting Samurai though.
But fuck you.
Yeah. What's cool, though?
Dark Knight, I think Dark Knight was the most requested job, but Samurai was so very close behind.
What's cool now going forward, that kind of like uses up all of like the really like sort of shoot-in jobs. You know, from here on out, it's going to be stuff like Blue Mage or Beastmaster or fucking Mime or stuff that's out of the box. So that's really cool to look forward to. But something that that the chat just sort of like what we just realized, you realize that Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn is the After Years. That's what we are. The game we're playing is Final Fantasy XIV: The After Years.
Oh, so I'm right again.
That's kind of funny. That's a little funny. It's a little, yeah.
God, why am I so right all the time?
Trinixia, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. If you want to call the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We've got about half an hour left here in the show. So if you want to sound off, like we're totally off script. We've completely abandoned the outline that we had.
We're just taking callers.
We're literally at this point we're taking callers and just talking about the shit that we watched. So I mean, you know, have a collective session with us. Have a collective, you know, brainstorming session with us, and come hang out. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. We'll take as many of the callers that we can all the way up until 7 o'clock.
Anir, wrap your brain around this. All right, so when they came out with Heaven's Ward, they were going to have a tank, and they're like, it's going to be Dark or it's going to be Sam. Now, they didn't have a Dark Knight tank and a Samurai tank. They had a tank that was going to be labeled as one or the other. Dark won out. I would probably guess because they knew that they were going to use Doma in the expansion afterwards, and Samurai makes better sense there. But had they came out with a Samurai tank...
You're right, though. That would have been such shitty payoff. That would have been such shitty payoff to get the two jobs from it and then to go there for wait an entire expansion to go there.
Not just that, but had they came out with a Samurai tank, Dark Knight would be a DPS right now.
That's true. Not only that, but I mean, if you think about it also, like Square-Enix really didn't have any choice but to go where they did in Heaven's Word. You know, we only had a small section of the continent of Eorzea that was explorable to us. It would have made no sense to push us across the sea. And so we had to finish fleshing out the rest of the Eorzean, and quite frankly, we had to go to Ishgard. We had to. We had been seeing it since 1.0, and it had been blocked off to us. If we were now just going to Ishgard, that would be thematically so fucking complicated. It would be so dumb. It would have been really bad to have, Alamigo and Othard in 3.0.
Plus, I mean, they could have easily put Samurai in instead of Dark Knight and had it been a refugee that taught it to us like they did with Ninja. But then trying to put Dark Knight somewhere into Othard would have been weird.
Thematically?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Very weird. Very weird. All right. Again, thank you, Trinixia, for the call. We're going to go back to our phone lines and talk to Oren Squall of Mateus. Thanks for calling, Oren. What's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Great.
With the information that we got this weekend with Samurai sharing this strength stat with Monk, that now makes every class, every stat have 3 classes, and obviously Red Mage probably will be a intelligence one.
Yep, that's what they said, I believe.
Yeah, well, they said it was going to be caster hybrid with up close. But do you think it's going to be intelligence with the same gear set as Black Mage and Summoner, or it's a completely different gear set?
They did say that its main stat would be intelligence, didn't they, Juxta?
Actually, they didn't confirm that. I think they did say that they're going to share gear with Black Mage and Summoner, though.
See, but now you have 3 different classes sharing gear, and there's no way to have the secondary stat distribution be beneficial to all of them. I mean, I think you're really going to start to see stat distribution among different eye level gear. Like how certain eye levels will have, for tanks, for example, some will have more crits, some will have, for some reason, parrying on it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
parry.
Like you're gonna get these stat allocations that are going to be drastically beneficial for different aspects of int users. And I think that's going to really muddy the waters. I think it's going to become really complicated. I mean, do you guys see them doubling the output of gear for that, or increasing it by a third for that section of the player base, like for that role?
No, it already just seems so freaking random as is.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like you're gonna get weird stat allocation. Like you're set at 240. Say, I'm just picking an eye level just at random. You're set at 240 might be more beneficial for black mages, but then you're set at 260 is more beneficial for red mages.
Well, hold on.
That's problematic.
That's how it happens right now, though.
Yeah. How many outputs do we have for gear?
It does. Hang on, but it only happens on a binary level. There's only 2 jobs that it could ever be applied to. This adds a third one into that overlap.
No, at the moment, the only 2 stats you ever actually want is a determination and crits.
Regardless of class. Yeah, I think the only way you'd be running into this trouble here is if all 3 of these jobs required very different stat allocations.
I mean, but don't you think that accuracy is going to play different in the math? I mean, really, if it doesn't, you're really just talking about aesthetic changes that you're making to the job.
I would not be surprised with all the healer accuracy crap if they just took accuracy out of the game in the battle system revamp.
Yeah.
I mean, but then, what? You think we're going to have less secondary stats on gear then?
I mean, at that point, it really comes down to speed, determination, and crit.
So having different numbers of each one of those, that's really the only thing that is different between gear sets?
I mean, that's what we have now. We have no end of scholars bitching that they have no crit on their body for 3 expansions, and then the very last patch, they have crit on the body, and they're joying in the streets. So
well, but exactly, like how do we not end up having that problem all over again?
By having more output,
because like adding another job that's in the mix among that gear means that problem is going to be worse, especially if like Kahlo had said, that the jobs end up using different stats for each one of them.
So how do we fix that then?
Or relying on that's a that's a $1 million question right there.
More gear output. I mean, right now, what do we have? We have tome gear, and the raid gear is obviously superior to tome gear. Okay, but not a lot of people do that. So the easy raid, easy mode, or the off raid, like Ivlis in this case, those usually all kind of end up lining up within an item level or 5, don't they? I think that's what it comes down to, is you need more of a gear output, and with something like Eureka, if it fits in better than what Skynimus did, whatever it was called, that place. Diadem, yes. If it fits in better than Diadem, that could serve as a way to alleviate that. If it has the random gear type drops.
Okay, all right, yeah. Okay,
if you don't have something that fits to you perfectly, you better spend some time in Eureka trying to find something that does work.
Okay, all right. I could see that. I think that's that's a weird way to try to solve or develop around that problem. I mean, there are a couple of variables at play here.
Mm-hmm.
The battle system revamp is a big one, because we have no idea what they're going to do, with secondary stats on that. They've already said that a couple of their secondary stats, like parrying, like accuracy for healers, that stuff is kind of problematic, and that they might try to address it with these battle system changes, which means that we're going to see, I hate to tell you this, we're going to see a huge adjustment to those secondary stats.
Which at the beginning of expansion is the best time to do it, because you're getting rid of all your quintuple melded crap anyway.
Right, yeah, it's time to set a new norm for gear. But I think the problem that you have now is you've created an environment where the top eye-level gear may not be the best. You actually have to pay attention to what the secondary stat allocations are.
I think in some cases people are already doing that.
Well, I think that they do, because, I mean, automatically tanks, if they get a body piece that has parry on it, it's annoying. And we already have a sense of that, but I think that it doesn't prevent, if a body has parrying on it, that doesn't prevent a tank from using it until they get something that's within, very, very close proximity of that. But I think that now with potentially as many as 3 jobs overlapping on a single type of gear set, that problem is going to become much more forefront and much more accentuated. And maybe you're right. Maybe Eureka is a way for them to develop around that, and maybe they're going to try to want to drive interest in that system through something like that. But that's kind of a dicey way to do that. So,
didn't they say in October that they were going to get rid of the accuracy, any type of accuracy on their gear without actually interfering with any of the fights and all that?
I don't know that that's been 100% confirmed.
It's not without precedent. I mean, World of Warcraft basically boiled it down to how many stats now? I don't think they have 4. Yeah, they don't have accuracy anymore. They don't have spell and melee haste. It's just straight up haste, crit. Basically all the stats have been boiled down to the bare necessities between all the different classes basically.
Right. So, I mean, I'm not. The thing is I'm not totally sure that players are going to want to have to pay that close attention. I mean, right now it's if it's the highest eye level gear, I'm going to wear it. There's not too many situations where people are like, I'm going to choose this other piece of gear because the secondary stats are better. That's a very rare instance that happens in. Maybe you have better secondary stat allocations that really make that much of a difference off of your Void Arc piece, that secondary sort of gear access. But I think that this will make it much, much more obvious that it's an issue. Now, speaking to the accuracy thing, I don't know if they've confirmed that. I don't know. I honestly can't remember. I know that back in October at FanFest, they did say that they wanted to address accuracy, but the way that they were going to do that was not outlined in a terribly clear or cogent manner, which makes me think that it was probably caveated with, well, it's still under development, but what we're thinking is. So, that being said, I don't know that we can 100% look at that as, well, they're definitely going to remove accuracy. We know that they're going to do something to the secondary stats. We don't know what that is yet, and I do have some concern about 3 jobs overlapping on gear pieces. That's sort of the way I feel about it. Thanks for the call, Oren. We appreciate it. Do you have any shout-outs before we let you go?
Nope, that's all.
All right, man. Thank you much. If you want to call the show, Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord if you'd like to give Limit Break Radio a call. What do you guys think of this new residential area?
My God.
So many people fucking peed their weeb pants about this. I'm not into the Far Eastern design.
No, it's absolutely terrible. In fact, it's probably the most unimaginative aesthetic that we've gotten thus far. I mean, everything about Ul'dah, Gridania, Limsa, even Ishgard, they've all been based on something, but there's something that's been tweaked about them that make them sit a little bit more original in my mind. I mean, if you even go back to Othard in Final Fantasy XI, that was Eastern, but they took a lot of different aspects, from the Middle East, from the Far East, and kind of molded them into this really unique place.
It was like a mishmash.
Yeah. And I mean, even compared to Pandaria, which was obviously Far East inspired, there was something that was much more mythical and fantasy-esque. This literally looks like they took it looks like Japanese land for the white guy.
Yeah. Come to FF14 Japan land. Yeah, that's exactly sort of what it feels like.
Be the last samurai.
And I understand that it's supposed to be a different culture, that we're very physically far removed from one another. I understand all of that. But at the same time, it doesn't feel unique to itself. It feels like very much cut and paste from our real world into Eorzea. Yes. And it also feels like, we're losing quite a few players to Blade and Soul right now.
Were we though? Are we?
No. I mean, at the time, this feels like a fear-based decision that was driven by 6 months ago of information. You know what I mean? When the decision was coming down where they were going to take the direction of this expansion, that was right around the time that Blade and Soul was huge and pulling people away from FF14. So you know what? If they did, I could see it. I could totally see it.
Yeah, I'm not excited for it at all. In fact, I'm pretty sure I can speak for Juxta too when they're like, hey, you want more Japanese stuff? Juxta, you're probably gonna have like 3 or 4 different cherry blossom trees you can pick from now.
Yay.
So you don't want
Aren't you excited?
You don't want to move the LBR headquarters there?
No.
We should do it just to piss Juxta off. He just logs in one day.
Oh, yeah.
He goes to warp there, and he warps into Kugan. Whatever the place it is.
Kugani.
The new residential area, by the way, is called Shirogane. Just so you know.
Did we drop a nuke on that? All right, so
I thought Shirogane was what you used to regrow hair, but maybe I'm wrong.
Like, I want to know the mental gymnastics, or the lore gymnastics, excuse me, that we're going to have to go through to actually buy a house in this supposedly isolationist empire.
No. The empire as a whole is isolationist, but not the port town, because they need trade. So that's why they're offering us houses.
God, it's so... I'm sorry. It's so disjointed.
The fuck?
It makes so much more sense to give us housing in Ishgard. I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially after the narrative arc that we've been on with Amric and all. Yeah, that makes total fucking sense. This does not.
The rules. I have money.
Whatever. Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Captain Marvelous of Leviathan. What's up, Captain?
Hey there, how are you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
You got in our good graces last time. Don't fuck this up.
No, I'm gonna white knight Nika now.
Oh, here we go. I've been waiting for the Skype. Here we go. All right, Cap. What you got?
All right. Actually, I'm really happy about the Samurai. I would have preferred it be a tank, but I'm actually happy either way, because this way I get to keep playing Warrior while maining Scholar and Samurai as DPS and healer. So I get one for each of the roles now.
Oh, good.
I mean, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, like, really, I definitely haven't found a role that really excites me in the DPS or healer category. And I mean, I definitely am not a red mage. I have no desire to check out red mage whatsoever.
But you leveled red mage in 11.
Different reasons. And you know that for a fucking fact. But the thing is I'll check out Samurai. I definitely will. Like, even with my reservations about some of the design choices on it, I'll definitely check it out. And if it's good, I'll stick with it. So
yeah, and my girlfriend and I really, she was really pulling for red mage, and I was really pulling for Samurai. So that the other. Having both of those in Stormblood means that we can explore Stormblood as like our preferred job now.
I mean,
well, good for you.
That's cool.
Well, the other thing is that right now, looking at the progression of the equipment, though, that you guys had mentioned before, it all seems vertical and not horizontal. Like in Final Fantasy XI, they had equipment that would boost like the effects of Berserk or Meditate. Sure. I don't see that anywhere in 14, and it's all really boring, static, vertical progression. So I'm hoping for Stormblood they would have something like that. Like maybe the time for blood is increased, or the damage you take for blood is decreased. Berserk lasts longer.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we've brought up on the show before, how we'd like to see stuff that ends up augmenting abilities. And I agree with you. I think that would be a really interesting aspect to gear, and it would make gear selection a lot more critical. And you would have moments where a selection of, like, an I-230 piece on your hands versus an I-260 piece with a different secondary, ability augment, a decision like that seems a lot more meaningful when you have much more meaningful secondary stats. But I don't see Square-Enix taking that direction. In terms of horizontal progression, we get almost none of that in FF14, and I think that pretty much all I needed to confirm that we weren't going in a horizontal progression direction was that we got the confirmation that the level cap is going up with Stormblood. So I don't hold out a whole lot of hope that we're going to see very much horizontal progression. And so, therefore, we're going to be, I think people need to be prepared for this, but that we're very much going to be on the gear treadmill coming up for Stormblood.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that and the other thing is that they seem to be really clumsy about nerfing or buffing. Like last time, I started playing during like 3.2.
Okay.
And I mained White Mage until 3.4. They buffed Astrologian so much that White Mage practically became useless. So I went over to Scholar. because I like the Scholar playstyle. So they seem to be really clumsy about how they're buffing or nerfing each of the classes. They say, I heard YoCP say that he's going to buff Paladin, but I'm not really sure how he's going to do that when Astrologian's buffs were so, clumsy when 3.4 came out.
Well,
I feel like Astrologian was a unique case, though, because
it was so useless before that. Oh my God, it was just so... It had no application.
And its strengths are supposed to be in the cards, but there's only so many cards that are useful.
Especially just one.
Yeah, so I think Astrologian was a very, very unique case. I mean, when it comes to Paladin... with each of the healers, they want them to all operate differently, but tanks aren't really that type of.
But we've seen large sweeping changes like that before. Now, Captain might not be aware of this, but back in the 2.0 era, when from 2.0 to 2.1 or 2.2, warriors were really bad. Like they were not terribly useful until that critical warrior patch that upped their DPS like crazy. Now, granted, it's been, they've adjusted it back from that a little bit, but you do see those big type of sweeping adjustments. Some of them are good, but I do think that in some ways they do overcorrect into an area of like, oh, well, now warrior is the best and it's going to be the best for,
forever.
For a really long period of time, even past adding a new job into that mix. Like it no longer becomes binary. There's a third choice in there, and even still with that third choice, warrior still edges out. I think that those kinds of things are there's it's a bit bifurcated because like you at once like that is the thing that makes a job feel unique, but it is also a big aspect of game balance, because now when your tanks operate in a unique fashion outside of the role that they have, and my best example of this is like ninja tanking in 11, that when you have a role that operates outside of that game balance becomes a lot more hard because you've got to balance those two elements separately instead of balancing tanks as a whole in this column. Do you understand what I'm getting at? Like, if your roles much more closely mirror each other, you end up adjusting less and having more of an effect on the balance overall, right? But you end up taking away a degree of that satisfactory gameplay and making that job feel unique. So I think that's the real balance that they're doing. Like there's two balancing acts that they're doing. They're balancing not just the jobs versus one another, but they're also balancing the roles overall versus one another and trying to make them not too unique so that development side they have less to worry about.
That is such a tricky line.
It is.
Yeah, that is a great point, but because I think that when they tried to balance the healers, they kind of painted themselves into a corner because Scholar's the best at everything when you talk about healers.
No, you're right. I think that style of development, you do end up working yourself into a corner more often than you don't. But you also don't have this massive imbalance like you see in games like FF11, where you have one job that's so clearly overbalanced in one area, and so one job that's so underbalanced in another area, where the answer suddenly becomes, well, you got to have a big group to be able to do anything. That was 11's answer for how to balance that. And that is, well, you're all coming together to accomplish this big thing. So how do you end up utilizing your relationship to one another? We've already gone over that that's not as emphasized in FF14 because group composition doesn't really matter that much. Outside of the highest skill levels, group composition is not even something that is given any amount of thought. It really is.
It's all pretty homogenized.
It is. And that's why matchmaking actually works in FF14. And it does. Like, you have to give FF14 a little bit of credit. Because first of all, they've built a modular system that is easier to balance in terms of, in the abstract than making a game where literally every job is unique from every other job, which was what FF11 was. Mm-hmm. And I think they learned a pretty hard lesson there, and that is, well, man, this becomes really difficult to balance, one versus the other. And especially with the sub-job thing and how intertwined all of those abilities end up getting, it's a lot to be able to keep straight. But you minimize that, and you have some, you have ability overlap where you're changing animation and aesthetics, and then suddenly you're having to balance a whole lot less system side when there is an imbalance on the game field.
I think that's probably one of the best metaphors that's ever been given to this game. It is built in a very modular way so that things will be put in there very easily. I mean, even when people were like, oh, well, how would they put Blue Mage in? Simple. They would just give it Blue Mage names, but it would operate like every other DPS in the game.
And that's exactly it. And it's a very smart way to design your game. Now, I do agree that in some instances you end up working yourself into a corner. And you do end up with a situation where, like, Astrologian is clearly the best healer, or Scholar, for whatever reason is clearly the best. You do end up working yourself into that corner. Warrior is a great example of that. Can they develop out of that? I don't know. And I think that they've outlined something pretty ambitious with the combat system revamp. I think if there's going to be anything that does that they're going to take the lessons that they've learned from the imbalance and the complaints that they've gotten this cycle and try to address them next cycle. So, it's that whole theory of work smarter, not harder. And I do think that Square-Enix does deserve a lot of credit for the smart ways that they have designed the system that doesn't end up creating more mechanical work for them. And I think that's kind of what allows them to focus on a lot of the detail-oriented aspects of FF14, like the narrative, like the lore, like, set piece building and stuff like that. Like that... We get those things because they're able to sort of copy and paste the dungeon format for every dungeon. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you're building stuff modularly like that, I think that also needs to be a part of the conversation. Thanks for the call. We appreciate it. Got another less than 10 minutes, so we'll take another call before we take off. Thank you very much, Captain Marvelous. Appreciate it. Appreciate hearing from all you guys. There's a lot of new names tonight.
He didn't White Knight Nika at all. He lied to us.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to owning some White Knights today, man.
I know we didn't get many of that. I think we'll get a little bit more of that. Like I said,
when Nika's on the show.
Yeah, when Nika's on the show, because they want to be acknowledged by Nika.
That's fair.
Maybe the dick sucking was a little bit strong. Maybe that all they're looking is just for Senpai to notice them, and not the Senpai that lives with Nika, but for Nika Senpai to notice them.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. So looking forward to next week.
It's even sadder than wanting to get dick suckage.
It really is.
You just want to be acknowledged by her. You sad, pathetic excuses for human beings. I don't like the White Knight thing. And just the amount of people that will come out of the woodwork in YouTube comments or on Twitter and you guys are just so mean to her. No, she's one of our friends.
She's one of us.
She's one of our friends. We treat her exactly the same way that we treat all of the rest of us.
You geeks are so gullible.
Juxa, you're fat.
You're so fat.
You are.
But not so fat he'd eat an entire penis popsicle.
I know, just the tip.
He just bit the tip. Did you guys
so
taste that thing?
No, fuck no.
No, it was a cock. Yeah, not putting that in my mouth.
I mean, the subtext there is that it's made with jizz. Like, that's a fundamental ingredient of the actual... So, congratulations, you ate a stranger's jizz.
Would not eat again.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Tanya Makers. What's up, Tanya?
Hey, guys.
Welcome to Limit Break Radio.
Hey, thanks. And before I start, I do want to say that I used to be a delivery driver, and I listen to your podcast all the time, and it made a lot of delivering pieces much enjoyable. So
nice.
Thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you. We appreciate hearing from you. That's very kind of you. We appreciate it. So what's up? What are you hyped about from EU FanFest?
Well, honestly, I do want to go back to what Mr. Deckard Turd Lion was talking about with the with the tanks and healer balance.
Mm-hmm.
essentially, what I was thinking was that you guys were saying like you're not sure on how to balance out the tanks and stuff.
Right.
I do have a good idea, and that is just to not make some.
Well, you have an idea. Let's stop it. You have an idea. We'll let you know if it's good or not.
We'll determine that.
Okay.
It's not good.
All right. So what's your idea?
First, get rid of all the useless abilities that Paladin has. Essentially, Paladin has like 3 abilities that they basically never use. That's basically Tempered Will. Like, it has some sort of uses, but not really. Then there's Cover. Like, personally, I love the idea of Cover, but you just can't really use it for most fights. And then there's like, what's that other one? Clemency. Yeah, Clemency is just all over the place. Like, I love the idea of Clemency, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I've heard that criticism that there are more than a few job abilities that Paladin gets that are really so situational as to be basically useless.
Yeah, and then when you look at Warrior, like I'm looking at my Warrior right now, and I can't see any ability that is just straight up useless.
There's no fat. There's no fat on Warrior, where and especially from 50 to 60, there was like a special attention that was paid to Warrior, where you're utilizing fucking every last ability that you're given, and you're maximizing the ability of it. Yeah, and I think you're right, man. Like, the contrast to Paladin and what it got between 50 and 60, holy shit, was like nothing.
Yeah. Besides Sheltron, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that one's terrible.
It is.
Yeah, and Dark Knight is, I say it's a little bit flawed, but yeah, it's in a pretty good spot. I think the only thing that it needs to work on is threat generation, because you basically never want to use Power Slash. Like, I know that there's this Dark Guards Power Slash that basically no Dark Knight ever uses. Like, it's the bane of the world for them. So Dark Knight is just in a little bit better spot than Paladin, but Paladin is just like, it's all over the place right now.
It really is. It really is. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because I do think that they absolutely have to address the tank meta and do something with Paladin. And they've already said that they're going to, but I mean, they have in the past, though. Like, there was a big Paladin update somewhere in the mid-3 patches that was like, that had everyone like, okay, this is good, but then it didn't end up doing anything. Like, it didn't end up like reworking any of that sentiment. Like, it really does need some work, and I don't know if they're gonna hold off any more big job adjustments until they do this new system. You know what I mean? Like, it seems pointless to do any kind of job adjustments between now and 4.0 if we're reworking the combat system anyway.
Yeah, I don't see them doing any big changes.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, me neither.
Yeah, honestly, I see Paladin getting the Warrior 2.1 treatment at Stormblood when it comes out.
That's possible. And it would be a good moment to do that. But I think that they're going to lean a little bit more heavily on, because remember, it's not just the battle system design, it's also the UI. I mean, the UI elements are going to be big on that one. So, you know, we could end up seeing custom UI elements for different jobs. That's the thing that ends up making them feel unique, one versus another. And then that way, in terms of the math, you have almost standardized math across each one of the 3 jobs in that role. That, again, there are benefits, and there are consequences to that style of development. But in terms of the game that we have versus maybe the game that we project our wants onto, I think in terms of the game that we have, that it may be better to do that and make it feel to the player that they're playing a unique job, or that the job has some kind of uniqueness, but that mathematically, when you get down to it, that all 3 of those roles are balanced quite tightly within each other. Because there's no way, even if you have the best Paladin ever, that a Paladin can even come close to matching a Dark Knight on DPS. It'll never happen. Right. Never happen. You can have the best geared, the best played Paladin. It just won't ever happen. So making the math unified may be the smart idea, the smart route to go for Square-Enix. Thanks for the call, man. We appreciate it, Tanya. We have one more caller to get to before we take off here. Thank you guys for the calls. We appreciate hearing from you. It's so interesting to hear what your take on this stuff is. I'm always glad that we have the ability to take callers on days like this, because I think what ends up shaking out in these discussions are much more creative than than the ideas that we have just isolated from each other.
I'd also like to point out really quick, Tanya, that your idea was basically to take away some of their useless abilities. Squarenix is doing that, so I guess it is a good idea, but it was pretty unoriginal, so fail.
Shit, yeah!
That's just my final opinion on it.
Shit, yeah.
Just be mean?
Yeah. Just gonna be mean.
All right. That's fine.
Just gonna be mean.
There's going to be an episode where I'm just mean to everyone who calls in. Just like...
So, every episode?
No, come on. I give people a chance to dig their own hole. You know? Like you've got to say something that sets me off. I welcome most everyone very, politely to the show.
Cordially.
That's right. I don't just go, call her what the fuck do you want?
I mean, honestly, today, the only person he was really mean to was Turd Lion. And that was just because that was funny.
Yeah, that was...
Like, he did it in a nice way.
Yeah, I wasn't being mean. That was just the slip of the tongue that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Now everyone's going to call him Turd Lion.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad about it. Oh, that's okay. I won't feel bad tomorrow.
It's pretty funny, though.
I won't feel bad tomorrow.
Turd Lion.
Let's go back to our phone lines and talk to Melchiria. What's going on, Melchiria? Melchiria?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
It's the Weeb Queen Supreme. What's up?
Not much. I did want to talk about the. I did want to talk about the Azim Step, because they mentioned that was going to be like the first expansive area in 14.
Yeah.
The Azzy Steps. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, what was the exact terminology that they used? That it was going to be the first like a wide open plains area.
Kind of reminded me the way that they talked about of like the Calmlands from FF10. Just like wide open plains, but was kind of destroyed or whatever.
Well, the thing that I think, if you have a zone like that, I think something that is interesting to do with that is to create some kind of NM pop system like that. You think, like, what do you do with an area that big? And if you have some kind of NM system, I think that would be kind of cool. But okay, so yeah, the Azim Steppe is really, really big.
Yeah, and what I thought about they could do with that is seeing as it's like the homelands of the Xyla, which are primarily like nomadic tribes. What they could possibly do is like introduce some sort of like roaming aetheryte system. Like one tribe, like each of the tribes have their own aetheryte, and they can set it up whenever they settle down in an area. And it'd change on a week-to-week basis. Or
so
something
you're talking about having like a contested area that if you reclaim it from some kind of hostile force, whether it be a Garlean, whether it be a beast tribe, whatever it is, that when you reclaim it, then that sets up a temporary, like nomadic aetheryte.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. Because like when I saw like the image they used for that thing was freaking huge, and I thought, what if that moved? Like, it's a plains area. Why wouldn't it move?
Well, I think you have to kind of ask yourself why are the aetherites placed where they are? And there might be some kind... I haven't finished the lore book. I don't know everything that there is to know about Aether. I'm not fucking Ethis Asher. Okay, so with that all established, there might be some kind of reasons that aetherites are placed in the spots that they are. Now, we do know that there are portable versions of that, because we do have mini aetherites that can be sort of set up and established anywhere and form an aetherite network. But in terms of that big aetherite, we don't really know why those locations are chosen and if they could be arbitrarily changed just by moving the crystal.
But I do like that idea because, this past expansion, we've had, a few patches where we've had talk of world PvP or PvP zones, and a giant plains area that has different nomadic tribes that you could maybe align yourself to either on a daily or weekly basis.
Sure, yeah.
And whichever one controls the plains, maybe then you can travel more easily from the main Aetheryte to their camp.
I like that.
Where they have the smaller Aetheryte set up.
Yeah, I mean, there was also a concept from 1.0 that never really made a return where we had sub Aetheryte portals that you warp out to the Aetheryte from the main menu, but then at the Aetheryte itself you had to select your sub destination, and that's kind of I'm not entirely sure why they ended up doing away with that system, because you kind of, much like an Aetheryte, you had to go find it and unlock it in the first place. But I don't know, man. I could see it going either way. I just don't know what happens if you pick up an Aetheryte crystal and move it. Does the teleportation ability, do you move that, or is that harnessing some sort of aether current at that specific spot? Because that is definitely, that's
they
definitely
could do
a plot
so
point.
much. Yeah, they could do so much more with the aether currents, aside enabling flying to that destination. Maybe if say if the Aetheryte moved on the next week, maybe you could teleport to where you originally attuned to that place, and maybe you need to reattune yourself when you find that tribe again.
Maybe. I don't know. I kind of like the notion of having a contested area that changes and is dynamic, though.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that concept. I also, we saw in Heaven's Word the old destroyed Aetheryte from 1.0 at that Western Korthan village as well. So, it does lead to some questions about the nature of Aetheryte.
I could see it going two ways based on two things. First of all, early in A Realm Reborn, when the signs are based out of Vesper Bay, there's a little part of the storyline where they talk about how, the Alliance wouldn't let them have, or that somebody wouldn't let them
Syndicate.
have. Yeah, the Syndicate wouldn't let them put an Aetheryte there, right?
Right.
But then isn't there somewhere in the story, it might have been with the Shiva stuff, we somehow harness an aether current where an Aetheryte used to be to teleport there.
Right.
So
That's how we got to Snowcloak.
Yeah, she destroyed the
Aetheryte, but we still went through the current.
Right.
Yet it's maybe you need the Aetheryte there to establish that current.
Right.
But even if it were gone after that, there's obviously still a way to traverse the current that's there.
And we know that the Charlayans had pretty much established this network, and that they have a facility even for manufacturing Aetheryte crystals. You can go to the hinterlands to be able to see that. It's mostly inhabited by Gobbies now. But that shows that it might be potentially possible to move an Aetheryte crystal, but I think that you're hitting on something, Kahlo, that it's more the crystal is harnessing what is already there in the earth, that is already there at that spot,
or it just establishes and strengthens.
That channeling. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Kind of like a ley line of on the plains, right?
I think
it was something like that.
I think you could put an Aetheryte anywhere and then traverse to it, but then if that Aetheryte's gone, I don't know. Maybe only in some cases if the current was strong enough.
Well, remember we did need a whole bunch of you needed the catalyst to be able to get to Snowcloak. You had that crystal that
you needed the Aurosite.
Yeah, exactly.
You needed a rose sacrifice. Oops.
Womp womp.
Whoa.
Oops.
Womp womp. Oh well. The only person whose feelings that may have hurt is not here. So, anyway, thanks, Melky, for the call. We appreciate it, and we appreciate all of your calls here today. It's been a fun show, talking about all of the exciting reveals out at EU Fan Fest. I'm definitely excited for Stormblood. Not as excited as I was for Heaven's Word, I have to say.
Yeah, but you had
think
Dark
I agree
Knight
that.
Heaven's Word.
Well, all right, but I don't have either thing for either of them, and I think Heaven's Ward. I think I was a little bit more excited for Heaven's. Maybe I wasn't. I don't remember.
I'm more excited for Stormblood.
I think what I'm
because you're
excited
getting
for-
Red Mage.
Yeah, I know.
I think what I'm
Which
most
just proves my
excited
theory.
for is for Ethis to take the map and start going around on the map and like telling us all the lore behind each individual thing.
I'm definitely going to be watching out for Ethis's channel updates after.
Tell us about Godzilla.
Yeah. I don't think anyone really knows, but I mean, that's just fucking
If
fascinating.
someone did, it would be Ethis.
That's just fucking fascinating. Yeah. Is that, I mean, maybe that's some kind of giant. Maybe it's some kind of giant.
Just something like massive.
A statue? Maybe it is a statue.
It's oh, that would still be kind of cool.
That would
Just the
actually be kind of cool, yeah.
The fact that it's actually towering through the clouds instead of just like flying around or something. That's super interesting.
Yeah. So before we head out here, I did just want to relay a couple of pieces of information from the producer live letter. There was a sizable Q&A. After the Q&A wrapped up, we did get a couple of pieces of confirmation. Patch 3.55A will be going live February 28th. Of course, that coincides with the patch prep that we told you about right at the beginning of the show. Final Anima weapon story quests will be there. Zole, Alipo. What is that?
Alipo?
Yeah, I don't know. How do you say that?
Alipo?
Really? I don't know. Custom deliveries for crafters and gatherers may want to implement new quest story for the new NPC. This is basically just the reset stuff for crafters and gatherers.
Oh, okay.
I don't even remember what that thing is called. Wondrous Tales, right? Wouldn't this just be
That's not crafters?
No.
No.
This new one that they're adding.
Oh, they're adding a Wondrous Tales 4
I think that's what this is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
I remember. Yep, that's right. They are.
Yay.
We're also going to be getting the Proto Ultima battle.
With 270 accessories.
270 accessories. I mean, that gives you a reason to do it, I guess. I don't know. How you will encounter it is not revealed, not even in the patch notes. There will be new maps for the Feast. Sudden Death Mode will be introduced. Some new items and adjustments. Season 3 will come to an end, and Season 4 preseason will begin. Adjustments to Goddess and Demon whistle drops are going to be in there. Garo gear will be reattainable from the Calamity Salvager if you're a fucking moron and decided to drop that. Aids and High Summoner attire will be available for redemption.
Yes.
And then as of patch 3.55B. Now, notice nowhere in there did I talk about Diadem.
355B. Is that different from 356?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my fucking god.
Patch 3.55B will be going live on March 7th.
Oh my god.
Or possibly 9th. Or maybe the 14th. It will include new exploratory missions for Diadem. It was ready, but a big bug was found that they couldn't fix in time. So during a previous patch note reading, Yoshi P said Garo gear is available by MGP by 3.55. He apologizes. He meant 3.56.
You son of a bitch.
3.56 will bring Diadem and continuation of main story. More updates to flow into the release of Stormblood. I mean, look, they did bring they apologized for this. I don't want to give them too much shit about it because they did go very far out of their way to apologize, but they did also say that this will help make the gap of time between 3.55's conclusion and 4.0 seem much, much smaller. Which, granted it will, but for the shittiest possible reason.
But I think the bigger concern that we had is the gap between 4.0 and 4.1.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. So patch 3.56, again, will bring the Diadem continuation and will wrap up Stormblood. So 3.55A and B has trash, and then the one that you really care about is 3.56.
Okay, good. So then I don't have to worry about this game getting in the way of Horizon Zero Dawn or Overwatch Season 4.
Not unless you're really, really up on that Final Anima step or Proto Ultima. Or maybe the Feast.
Nah.
No? And then you're good.
Oh my god. Jesus. What do we know approximately when 3.56 is?
Well, considering that 3.55 is either on March 7th or maybe March 9th or possibly even the 14th, fuck no, we don't know when 3.56 is.
Jesus.
If it tries to contend with Mass Effect, I got bad news for everybody.
I'm just saying, like, oh my god, does this not fucking annoy the shit out of anyone else? Like, this
so
is
we're not
just,
going to get, we're probably going to get 3.56 Diadem and the main storyline quest in May.
I think in March, but it's gonna be close.
No,
it's gonna be close.
March?
There's a whole other fucking month between there.
April or May, man. I'm saying April or May.
Late
Not
April.
May. Not May. No way it's that long.
Because then after that, it's like 2 months until Stormblood.
Yeah.
Which is a lot more palpable than 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Actually, no. What the fuck? It's still 7 weeks.
How you doing there, buddy?
You're never gonna get your menstrual mage.
Not good.
That's what I feel about your.
I'm not
red
doing
mage.
good.
No.
I'm not.
Sad.
This is. Let's just find a drop, I guess.
I just.
None of this was funny at all.
I don't think it was
I
supposed
already
to be.
hit that drop, and it's.
I don't think it was supposed to be funny.
It's not funny either.
It's not.
It's
really not. All right, guys, we got to wrap up the show. That's what to expect, though, for the next series of patches. Kind of disappointing.
This is actually almost depressing.
We'll take some time to talk about that a little bit next week. If you thought this was interesting, maybe you held back from calling in on this episode. Maybe you were a little nervous.
Or maybe Senpai wasn't here.
Work up the constitution, work up the courage. Give us a call next time, because I think that we're still definitely going to be talking about this. We've got a lot from the actual EU Fan Fest to break down, including the Q&A that Yoshi P did just before the producer live letter, as well as the press conference that he did with multiple gaming organizations out attending EU Fan Fest. Definitely some responses worth talking about in there, and I'm sure that we'll get even more interviews from outlets like Game Watch or Famitsu in the next couple of weeks that we'll be able to break down next week. So give it some thought. While this week is going on, give it some thought. Make sure that you set some time aside to join us on Sunday, starting at 4 p.m. here at twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, and call in. It's simple to do. Limit Break Radio on Skype, 810-515-8715, limitbreakradio.com/Discord. You can try them while we're not on the air. You're not going to reach any of us, but you can make sure that it works for you. And if you want to give the show a call and you want to express your opinion, we invite you to do so. Again, we want to thank so much. We want to thank everyone who called in today. So many new names, so many new voices, and just I love seeing new people getting involved with calling the show. A big aspect to the show is calling in. Like, we went to great lengths to make sure that that was something that we could engineer and build in as a part of the live product of the show. It's a unique aspect to podcasts. You don't hear podcasts that have live callers on it all the time. And I don't think that there are as many podcasts that care about giving you a voice and giving you the ability to use your voice on the air as Limit Break Radio does. So we want you to be able to use that opportunity and to really feel like you get the ability to use your voice and make your opinions heard through this program. So set some time aside on Sunday and give us a call. Let us know what you want to talk about. Talk it out with Kooky beforehand, and then you'll get to come on the air and hang out with us. So thank you to all of our new callers, all of our new listeners, all of the new follows that we got today. All what let's see, all 331 of you that are still hanging out with us to the bitter end of the show. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate the support. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you adding to the discussion, and we appreciate you just enjoying the show. LimitBreakRadio.com to find the website. You can also find us over on iTunes. Leave us a little bit of iTunes love if you like the show. If not, go fuck yourself. No, I'm kidding. If you don't like the show, you can also let us know that you don't like the show, but don't expect us to take it very seriously, because we don't take anything very seriously. So Just a little word of caution, but we would like to hear some of your feedback. Hosts at limitbreakradio.com to send us some email. We'd love to hear from you about anything that we talked about today. 4.0 speculation, job speculation. We'd love to hear any of it. Hosts at limitbreakradio.com. And if you'd prefer social media, you can find us at Limit Break Radio on most social media platforms. That's going to do it here for Limit Break Radio this afternoon. I want to thank you guys for tuning into our European Fan Fest special episode. Come back next week for episode number 101. Thank you guys so much. I want to thank my crew, Kooky Persona, who's been hanging out answering phone lines, even though they couldn't be here, Nika Kayanian and Escalia Rayumasa, and of course, my in-studio crew, Kalo Landis, Juxtaposition. I'm an Eero. Keep listening. Limit Break Radio is a production of LimitBreakRadio.com and Bender Media Productions. This episode was produced by Juxtaposition and Kooky Persona. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzeans are trademarks of Square-Enix. Funding for Limit Break Radio is provided by Miri Kennett, Satori Komeji, Dark Flux, Null Packet, Shira Hartslot, and fellow Limit Break Radio listeners. To support Limit Break Radio, visit patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. Opening music in this episode from Daniel Lambie. Listen to Man with the Machine Gun and other great tracks at facebook.com/Daniel Lambie Metal Gamer. Closing music in this episode provided by Husky by the Geek. Listen to this and other great Final Fantasy XIV and video game rock covers and original music at facebook.com/Husky by the Geek. In-game graphics for Limit Break Radio's Twitch stream are provided by Diamond Multimedia. Check out their line of AMD graphics cards and other hardware at diamondmm.com. Limit Break Radio and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.